Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. I Luffy, Awakened Sun God. Chapter 21. At this time, the Mary is about to reach the village of Kokoa. Nami said it would be there in half a day. It's already night, and I can arrive at Kokoa village early tomorrow. Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji already know about Nami village, as long as they kill the dragon pirates. And with the strength of Luffy and Zoro, it's easy to do. Midnight. The phone bug Nami was holding rang, frowning, and it was from Arlong. Nami answered the phone. His face suddenly changed dramatically, his eyes widened, disturbed, and panicked. Quickly hung up the phone, Nami carefully and anxiously packed up, then jumped into the sea and left. The next morning. Where's Nami? Luffy wondered. Zoro and Sanji searched, but couldn't find it. Zoro frowned slightly. The money on the ship is gone, and so is Nami. Sanji wondered. Don't you want to solve Arlong and the others with us? Luffy also frowned. It stands to reason that their strength is enough, but why did Nami leave alone with the money again? Luffy said in a condensed voice. Anyway, continue to advance towards Kokoa village. Soon, the three of Luffy went ashore and came to the village of Kokoa. Entering the village, there was no one on the street, and there was no response to knocking on the door. Excuse me. Sanji kicked the wooden door open, but found that there was no one in the room. Sanji said, Luffy, there seems to be no one in this village. Luffy said sternly, then go to Arlong Paradise. Zoro and Sanji are both fighting spirits rising and gearing up. At this moment, a slender girl with short blue hair and a slightly dark complexion arrived. No matter what you do, Arlong's reign will not end. Zoro frowned and asked, who are you? My name is Noki Gao, Nami's older sister, but I'm not related by blood. Luffy recognized it, and it was indeed Nochigao, and Nami was adopted by Bellmeyer since childhood. Sanji wanted to take a pity and his eyes lit up. Miss Nami's sister, she is really beautiful. Luffy asked, what do you mean when you say it's useless? Makino pleaded. Please, don't worry about this village, and don't worry about Nami anymore. I'll tell you the whole story. You mean the reason why Miss Nami suddenly left us? Sanji was eager. Yes, specific reasons. You can listen now, don't worry, because Nami will be fine. Zoro lay down, holding the back of his head in his hands, leaning against the tree. Then listen, Sanji expects. Tell me, I want to know everything about Miss Nami. Makino started talking. Kokoa village can be regarded as Nami's second hometown, where she has fond childhood memories. Later, it was occupied by the Murlocs of the evil dragon pirates. The evil dragon was originally a pirate in the Grand Line, thinking that the Murlocs are higher race, human beings are trash. They tried to establish their own dragon empire to dominate East Blue with the village of Kokoa as their stronghold. They levied life-buying money from the villagers, and killed those who couldn't pay. Our mother Belle Mel became the first victim. The evil dragon took a fancy to Nami's ability to draw sea charts, threatened the villagers' lives, took her as a leader, and agreed with Nami that as long as she collected 100 million Baileys, she could buy back the village and her own freedom. Quote. Sanji said, we know this, Miss Nami has already said it, let's be more specific, why Miss Nami suddenly left. Makino sighed. Because, she doesn't want anyone else to sacrifice, even if you are very powerful, but if you want to intervene, someone will sacrifice. And this is the last thing Nami wants. As for why, it's because of Belle Mel's death, yes she hit hard. This made the three of Luffy frown slightly. Makino continued. Nami told you briefly, then I'll tell you in detail. 8 years ago, when we were young. Once, Nami was caught stealing a book by Kensuke, and when he returned, Bellmeyer was arrested, taught. Nami said why she wanted to steal the book, she wanted to learn sailing and draw the most complete map of the world. We don't have money, but we have no problem eating and drinking because Bellmeyer eats citrus and makes me eat bread and milk. I lived a life of restraint, I wore the rest of my clothes, and Bellmeyer sewed them and gave Nami a boat. Once, I bickered with Nami, and Nami said that we are not blood related, not real sisters, and Bellmeyer beat up a slap in the face. At that time, Bellmeyer also regretted it after the fight. Nami also said that he was not related to Bellmeyer, but he actually meant that without us, Bellmeyer wouldn't have to live so hard. After that, Nami ran out, but it won't take long, and Nami and I are going back. However, the dragon pirates are here. The adults will each give 100,000 Baileys and the children 50,000 to ensure that everything will be fine. We were not at home at the time, thinking that Belle and Mel could afford it. We could have gotten through it, but someone from the dragon pirates noticed that Bellmeyer prepared meals for the three of them. This let Arlong know that there are actually 2 people in our family. Afterwards, Ajian uncle said that he invited him and a friend to dinner, so he prepared a meal for the 3 of them. The dragon pirates also checked the village's residence book. Bellmeyer was not married and had no children. I believe it. The village chief told us not to go back and leave the village, so that Bellmeyer can spend 100,000 yuan, we can survive, and the village will be fine. Nami and I are also going to leave. We are very reluctant. Belle is our mother. Although it is very reluctant to leave Bellmeyer, there is no way, we must leave. However, Bellmeyer took the initiative to say that the 100,000 Bailey was not for himself, but for his 2 daughters. Hearing this, Zoro, Sanji or one of Rin, realizing the reason why Bellmeyer died. But why did? Sanji was puzzled. It's obvious that they can all be rescued, and they also lied to the evil dragon pirates, but why did they do this? There was a mist in Makino's eyes, and the tears fell and tickled to the ground, crying. Because Bellmeyer didn't want our 2 children to be left at sea, without support, and couldn't say that he had no family, even if he died. After that, Bellmel was. Nami was also taken away. The villagers gathered and took weapons to save Nami, but, in the end, some villagers were sacrificed. Nami knew that in order to save the villagers, he had to choose to join. Arlong also promised, give 100 million Baileys and we'll be free. So, that's why Nami needs the money. This time I left suddenly because Arlong tied up everyone in the village. I was rescued by Uncle Ajien. Everyone in the village is family to Nami, and I don't want anyone else to have an accident. Arlong said, bring you here, and the people in the village will be killed directly. This made Luffy and others understand why Nami left. The people in the village were tied up. Although he knew that Luffy and the others were powerful, Nami was also worried that even if the evil dragon pirates were dealt with, some villagers would be killed again. Even if the evil dragon pirates were dealt with, 1 villager would be killed. Nami also could not accept. So, Nami took the money and left alone. Combining the previous reasons and the current ones, they fully understand. Bang bang bang. Footsteps sounded. Sanji, Zoro, and Noki looked up, and Luffy left alone. What are you going to do? Nuauchigao asked in confusion. Luffy squeaked. Nami is so stupid, I'll go to Arlong Paradise and fix it all. Arlong Paradise. The villagers were bound by the pirates of the evil dragon pirates with knives around their necks. Nami has arrived and put all 100 million Baileys on the ground. Looking at the big bag of Bailey and even gold, the eyes of the dragon pirates gleamed. Nami said solemnly, I've saved enough for 100 million Baileys. Here, you can let them go, and the village of Koja can be free, right? Arlong gave his subordinate a wink, and his subordinate accepted all the money. However, Nami frowned, because there was no sign of releasing the villagers, and the knife was still around his neck, which made Nami uneasy. Why don't you let them go? Nami asked. Arlong shook his head. I can't let it go. Suddenly, Nami was startled, his fists clenched, his long-suppressed anger erupted, and he gritted his teeth. Why can't you let it go? As you said before, do you want to break the contract? Looking at the angry Nami, Arlong was unmoved and sneered, break the contract. I didn't, but you actually thought of joining others to destroy us and save your village. So, let's take this as an apology, don't pursue it, let them leave, you continue to be in my evil dragon pirates, and you will be free next time. Of course, this kind of thing can't happen again, so it will continue to repeat. Quote. This made Nami completely collapsed. After accumulating for so long, suffering for so long, he saved enough and gave it to Arlong, but he did not fulfill the promise. Nami was so angry that his whole body was shaking. Arlong laughed instead. Ha ha ha, don't be so angry, isn't it just 100 million Baileys, just make another one. Or do you want to give up and escape from here? Or let them help, it's okay, even if we will be resolved, but the villagers of Kokoa will also die a lot. When the words fell, Arlong gave his subordinate a wink. Immediately, the pirate holding the knife exerted a little force, and the knife cut a little blood on the necks of many villagers. This made Nami's face change dramatically, and he quickly calmed himself down. Don't do it. I'll keep earning. Nami is broken, helpless, desperate, and has no choice but to earn one more time. Ha 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 ha, that's the right thing to do. Arlong laughed, satisfied. The villagers watched with great heartache and shouted, Nami, leave us alone. Yes, leave us alone and leave. It's okay for us to die, we can't drag you down anymore. ... Nami shouted, don't talk like that, don't you want to live? Kensuke didn't want to continue like this, and firmly said, we don't want to live anymore, we don't want to drag you down. We swore 8 years ago that we wouldn't sacrifice our lives easily. It's a useless sacrifice. No matter how painful it is, we have to endure it. As long as Nami, we will continue to be patient. Because we feel that once we die, Nami will not do anything for the dragon pirates, and it will be dangerous. Now, you have hope. Even if we die, it's nothing, ask for the help of our partners. Leave us alone. Live well, even if we all die, we will be happy below. Nami kept shaking his head. No, I won't let you die. Kensuke shook his head. There is no hope, these unforgivable murlocs are playing with your kindness. The villagers took death as their fate and made the same decision. Yes, they're just kidding you. We're ready to die. Nami, leave us alone. Don't be her money-making tool anymore, go live the way you want to live and realize your dreams. Draw the whole world. ... To shut up. The people of the dragon pirates are ready to make a move, but they are stopped by Arlong. The subordinates stopped. Arlong was not worried, and laughed inwardly. Let them continue to talk, so that the more she can't let go, the more she will try to make money for me, in order to protect these people, ha ha ha. Nami made himself smile, smiled happily, and said, it's okay, I'm okay, I haven't been unhappy all these years, I just need to keep earning it. I've already earned 100 million Baileys, and I'll earn it again, it will be easier, I have experience, it's alright, don't think like that, we will all be fine. Nami forced a smile. It's okay, don't worry about me, I don't want anyone else to die. Everyone thinks too much, I don't care, I'm fine, you are my family, and protecting you is what I want most, it's even more important than a dream, don't say it, I will continue to make money, and I will do it next time. This time I am wrong, thinking about asking for help, the next time I won't, the next time I can be free. Seeing Nami, who forced a smile on his face, the villagers were all mourned. The more Nami is like this, the more self-blame, heartache, and more determined they are. Enough. Tick-tock. Tears continued to fall, and all the villagers wept. Kensuke lowered his head, tears rolled down, and whispered, enough, don't do this, Nami. You know in your heart that it's useless. You carried all of our lives alone and fought until now. For you, joining the evil dragon pirates is more painful than 1,000 cuts. You really worked hard, leave, Nami. Nami kept shaking his head. Don't say it, everyone, don't say it, I don't want to see someone hurt by them, they will die, everyone, they will die. The villagers were not afraid one by one, and their expressions were extremely determined. It's useless, we've made up our minds. Nami, live for yourself. Nami, run away. ... After the words fell, Ajien and the others who were tied up tried desperately to ram into the pirates beside them, and immediately fell into chaos. Nami, run. The villagers slammed desperately, shouting while not afraid of death. I fought with you. Don't think about using us as a threat and let Nami continue to suffer. Kill us. ... Arlong's face darkened, and Sen said coldly, teach them a hard lesson. Yes. Bang bang bang. The backs of knives, mace, guns and other weapons smashed Kensuke and the others hard, screaming constantly. Arlong looked at Nami and asked, do you really want to take the opportunity to escape? Because you are still here, we didn't kill people, we just taught them a lesson. If you turn around, they will not just be smashed, but their heads will fall to the ground. Nami was in pain, collapsed, and didn't know what to do. She also knew that Arlong would always use herself, and freedom would never be there. However, I don't want everyone to die. What to do, what to do? With a thud, Nami squatted on the ground, head bowed, in pain, despair, helplessness, and tears kept pouring out, wetting the ground. Ooh, what should I do? What can I do? You. Boom, 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 ... Suddenly, steady and powerful footsteps sounded, coming from behind, the entrance of Arlong Paradise, from far to near. After the people of the evil dragon pirates heard the footsteps, they all stopped to look over, and the evil dragon frowned and looked at the entrance. The villagers also looked over, and a young man wearing a straw hat walked over with a low face and his head slightly lowered. Nami turned his head and saw it was Luffy. Nami raised her tearful face and looked at Luffy. Tears kept overflowing from her eyes. In desperation, she saw a glimmer of hope and cried out for help from the bottom of her heart. Luffy, help me. Luffy lowered his head, walked silently to Nami's side, took off his straw hat, and put it on Nami's head. Without stopping, Luffy continued straight forward, towards the dragon. Nami, wearing a straw hat, looked at Luffy's back with teary eyes. Arlong sneered, "Your straw hat, Luffy. Don't care if they live or die. If you dare to step forward, they will all die." However, Luffy kept going straight ahead, making Arlong's face grim. Go. Yes, everyone in the Dragon Pirates understands that they all raise their knives or put their fingers on the trigger. The knife was raised, ready to be chopped off, and the fingers were ready to pull the trigger. However, Luffy's eyes suddenly stern, haki. A flash of red light flashed from the eyes, and Conqueror's haki erupted. Like a freeze frame, the Dragon Pirate's knife freezes in midair, and the finger that pulls the trigger also stops. The next moment, bang bang bang, the sound of falling to the ground continued, and the pirates of the evil Dragon Pirates almost rolled their eyes and fell to the ground. The villagers were not affected. Arlong was shocked and couldn't believe it. Although he didn't faint, he was so shocked that he was sweating coldly. He even stood there and didn't dare to move, his body was shaking. Arlong's eyes widened, his eyes full of horror as he watched Luffy step closer, until he stopped in front of him. At the moment of stopping, Luffy's face with his head lowered suddenly raised, his expression, eyes, and anger. Chilling. Call. Luffy's right hand was suddenly raised, his fist was pitch black, and slammed out, his eyes widened, roaring and roaring. Ah! Boom! What? The fist that covered armament haki slammed into Arlong's abdomen. Arlong flew out like a cannonball, his abdomen was deeply dented, he gushed blood in the air, and let out a terrifying scream. The villagers were stunned. Nami's eyes full of tears were also sluggish, but for a short period of time, she burst into tears and cried with joy. Luffy. The villagers were stunned. How did they do it? Almost all of the Dragon Pirates collapsed, and Arlong stood there for a few seconds before being blown away by a punch. The house behind him collapsed directly, and Arlong was buried in the rubble. After the astonishment, they were extremely surprised and excited. Can you be saved? Great. He's Nami's buddy. Great. Arlong, they're going to be dealt with. ... They were so happy, most happy for Nami, they were relieved. Also, they're fine, they know Nami doesn't want them, so it's perfect. Nami burst into tears. It's great, it's great. At the same time, Nami was relieved, and the anger and grievances that had been suppressed for many years were all released under Luffy's punch. The villagers were also very relieved. Good fight. I just saw my blood boil. Arlong just stayed there, sweating in cold sweat, watching as he was blown away by a punch. Nice job. ... Among the ruins, the stones moved, and Arlong struggled to climb out of it. He was in extreme pain and his face was pale. Although the punch didn't kill him, it was also seriously injured. One more punch and he'd be dead. I thought that the reward of 400 million was due to doing other things that had a great impact. Now it seems that it is the real reason for strength. Arlong was terrified, knowing that he would die. Stop him. When the words fell, Arlong ran into the sea. In the sea, he will be stronger. What's more, the opponent is demon fruit power, and he has nothing to do with himself. So, that will save you. Luffy easily knocked the cadres of the Arlong pirates away, and Arlong was shocked that he was solved so quickly. But fortunately, the inner bay of Arlong Paradise is sea water, and he has already jumped into the sea. However, Arlong didn't run away directly, this was not his style. He looked up in the sea, looked at Luffy coldly, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, his eyes were bloodshot and angry. In the sea, you can't see me, but I can clearly see you above. And, in the sea, my speed will accelerate, and no one can stop my speed, which is only given to Murloc's ability. Locking Luffy, Arlong sneers. Shark arrows. Sudden acceleration, extremely fast, even difficult to catch, the sharp nose is like the tip of an arrow, rushing up. The speed was so fast that Arlong couldn't see anything because he was so fast. However, in the next instant, he did not encounter anything in substance. This shouldn't be, although it was a short moment, but with such a fast speed, it must have been encountered long ago. This means, Arlong is suddenly disturbed, which means the Straw Hat has escaped. He couldn't understand, he thought it was impossible, how could he escape, he couldn't see himself, how could he escape when he was so fast? However, Arlong is still a little ignorant, and Luffy, who is very strong in observation hockey, can't escape. After all, it was not only taught by Rayleigh, but by Roger even stronger. So, when Arlong rushed up, Luffy slid sideways and dodged. While dodging, Luffy said in a low voice, "It's so slow." Whoosh! Luffy suddenly disappeared in place and appeared above Arlong's head. No one reacted, including Arlong. Rubber. Machine gun. Luffy appeared on top of Arlong's head, his arms stretched out and slammed down, his fists were pitch black, and the speed was extremely fast. Suddenly, the shadow of the fist was like a machine gun, and the dense black fist slammed towards Arlong. Suddenly, Arlong, who was rushing forward, stopped and was smashed directly to the ground. What? Screaming and screaming constantly, Arlong, who fell to the ground, was bombarded by the dense black fist shadows above, hitting every part of his body. Every time a punch landed on his body, a pit was directly sunk in that part of his body, and the painful bones, internal organs, and even flesh and blood would burst. What? Arlong screamed in agony, unable to resist. Arlong was angry and powerless, thinking back to the beginning. When he was young, facing Kizaru, who was not yet admiral, he was as powerless as he is now and was tortured to death. It's been so many years, and I'm stronger, but I feel this feeling again. After 3 seconds, Luffy closed his fist and landed, looking down at Arlong on the ground. Arlong has become a blood man, very miserable. Arlong's vitality gradually dissipated, becoming weaker and weaker. Hateful. Arlong was unwilling and ended like this. Meanwhile, Zoro and Sanji, who easily dealt with Marine who was collaborating with Arlong, killed Colonel Mouse. Luffy, Colonel Mouse, we've dealt with it too. Zoro and Sanji came to the evil dragon paradise, watching everything in front of them, just right, and it was over. Arlong's eyes darkened and lifeless. The villagers were overjoyed, it was over, Arlong was dead. They are free. Colonel Mouse is also dead, great, peace is back in Kokoa village. Luffy turned to face Nami at a distance. In an instant, the surroundings quieted down, everyone in tacit understanding stopped cheering, calmed down, and looked at Luffy and Nami. Nami wore a straw hat and looked at Luffy deeply. Luffy took a deep breath and shouted loudly, "Nami, you are my partner. We're ready to go to sea." This sentence echoed around. Nami burst into tears, wiped her tears, and nodded. Zoro and Sanji both smiled and were happy. The villagers are also very happy. The dragon pirates have been defeated. Nami has also found a partner, and can go out to sea and fulfill her dream, which is simply great. The villagers surrounded Luffy and threw him up, cheering. After a long time, Luffy fell. Nami came over and put the straw hat on Luffy's head. The two smiled at each other, gave a high five, and didn't say much, but they both understood. The villagers cheered. "We are free. Freedom, great. Let's all laugh and dance." A banquet was held in Kokoa village, and 10 long tables were placed with various foods, fruits, snacks, etc. on it. Luffy and the others began to eat and laugh. Nami came to the mountain behind the village, a cliff, backed by the sea. A tomb on the cliff, Bell Myers. Nami has been sitting here for a long time, and told Bellmeyer what happened today. You can rest assured. At this time, Kensuke and Nokigao came over. Nami looked back and asked, "Nokigao, Mr. Jien, if Bellmeyer was still alive, do you think she would let me be a pirate?" Kensuke shook his head. "Don't joke, she used to be a marine, how could she allow her beloved daughter to become a pirate?" However, Nuo Chigao smiled, "Yes. Besides, even if you don't agree, will you listen to her?" Nami stuck out his tongue and said mischievously, of course he won't listen. Noki laughed, and Kensuke laughed too. Nami, you've made up your mind, then go live as you want, just like your mother. Bellmare should hope so too. Nami looked at the tombstone and smiled warmly, she felt the same way. After 2 days of celebration in the village, in the early morning, Luffy and the others were ready to leave. The villagers prepared various ingredients, supplies, and more than 10 large boxes. The villagers were busy loading all the boxes onto the boat. However, Nami has never been seen. Sanji wondered, where did Miss Nami go? Zoro thought, will it not come? Sanji was taken aback, a little angry. Why, could it be that you made Miss Nami angry? Zoro pouted helplessly. Why would I do that? Sanji was a little sad. If Miss Nami doesn't get on the boat, I'm 98.72% meaningless to be on this boat. The villagers were also puzzled, looking left and right, but did not see Nami. There are many villagers on the shore, hundreds, densely packed, but after a closer look, there are still no. Nami really did not come. I haven't seen her this morning. Me too. Why? The villagers were puzzled. At this time, Nuochigao was talking to Kensuke. After learning about it, Kensuke shouted, what, she kept all the money? That's 100 million Baileys. Nuochi said, she left a letter at home and said so. Kensuke said, how can you do this? You set off without money. That money was obtained by Nami desperately. Nuochigao said calmly. She said that she can steal again. It's okay, you all know that she will not change her mind about what she decides. When the villagers found out, they were very sorry and cursed lowly. Avertisement. That idiot Nami, we should be grateful to her, but the money was kept. Nami is good enough for us, how can we have it? Nami is so nice. At this moment, the sound of footsteps sounded, and he looked over quietly for a short time, and it was Nami. On the boat, Luffy looked over, not surprised, he knew it would come. Sanji was overjoyed and shouted, Miss Nami, you're here, it's great. Nami shouted, get off the boat. When the words fell, Nami quickly ran towards the shore. Luffy shouted, Young Fan, set sail. The Mary began to sail away. The villagers were stunned and understood. Don't Nami want us to say goodbye to her? Should we go like this? No, we are too careless. They're sailing, Nami is still running. Stop, we have to thank you and say goodbye, Nami. You've worked hard for so many years, say goodbye before leaving. However, Nami did not stop, the crowd shuttled, and the villagers kept blocking, Nami kept dodging and moving forward. Soon, at the shore, Nami jumped to the Mary, and landed on the deck. Still unable to say goodbye, the villagers were very moved. Nami is so nice. Don't want to make us sad, so that's why. Why are we so sorry, Nami? The villagers were very moved. However, it was soon discovered that it was wrong. Where's my wallet? My wallet is also missing. My money is gone. Could it be? The villagers all looked at Nami on the deck and realized something. Nami has a bunch of wallets in his right hand and a stack of banknotes in his left hand, kissing the banknotes and smiling mischievously. Everyone, take care. The villagers all shouted, Nami, you brat, you are so bold. Nuochigao smiled helplessly, showing reluctance. On board, Zoro sighed. It hasn't changed at all. Sanji praised. Miss Nami, well done. Luffy laughed too. As the boat drifted away, the villagers all looked at Nami and shouted. You little thief cat, come back quickly and return the money to us. Bad kid, you can come back anytime you want. Take care of yourself. Nami waved and shouted, goodbye, everyone. Such parting is the best. It has been 2 months since Usopp entered the teaching space. This day, Luffy, Zoro, Nami, Sanji are waiting because they know it's coming out. The next moment, Usopp appeared, with more muscles, and it seemed that the change was not small, mainly in the momentum. Usopp is excited because he has improved a lot. After all, one of his masters was his father, the world's #1 sniper. Luffy, Zoro, Nami, long time no see, I miss you all. Usopp gave Luffy a big hug. 2 years for Usopp, 2 months for Luffy et al., but also do miss. Zoro said, you must be a lot stronger. Usopp giggled. Everyone will know later. Usopp saw an unfamiliar figure, and Luffy began to introduce. Usopp is happy to have a cook on board. After getting to know each other, Luffy looked at Nami and Sanji and asked. Teach the space one person at a time. Sanji, Nami, who of you enter? Sanji hurriedly said. Of course it's Miss Nami, she knows you first, and the ladies first. Sanji is a gentleman as always. Although he wants to become stronger, narrow the gap with Luffy and Zoro, and is confident that he can narrow it, he naturally hopes that Nami will enter first. However, Nami shook his head. Sanji, you go first, I'll start when you come out. Ah, Miss Nami, why? Come in, I'm not in a hurry. Sanji refused and waited 2 months. Nami said sternly, I have my own ideas. It's better if you go first. Now our reputation is definitely not small. Marine will increase its strength against us. We need stronger strength to deal with the crisis in the future. Speaking of which, Sanji understood, without saying anything, nodding his head and looking determined. They can all imagine that the adventure has just begun, and now the enemy is weak, but they are about to enter the Grand Line, and they will encounter strong enemies at that time, and they are not comparable to Arlong. What you encounter is definitely extremely strong, and you may even encounter an existence that is not much different from Hawkeye. Needless to say, Marine would definitely want to kill them. So, after that is dangerous and stressful. There are still too few people on board now, so it has to be powerful. Nami knows that if he goes in by himself, even if he can become stronger, he will not have as much potential and improve as much as Luffy and Zoro. The weakest person on board is yourself. Sanji, who is young and strong, has been in training for 2 years. After coming out, his strength will definitely be similar to that of Luffy and Zoro, and he will become one of the 3 main battle forces on the ship. This is the best, so Nami wants Sanji to enter the practice first. Nami's decision, Luffy can understand, it's for the best. However, when Nami enters the practice, the improvement will be great. In the past 8 years, Nami can persevere, which shows the great endurance and perseverance. Cultivation is hard, so when you enter the training space, there are 2 more powerful character templates to teach. Nami will definitely improve greatly, and even his strength will exceed the peak of the original plot. But, even so, Sanji is naturally stronger. Luffy said. Okay, then Sanji will go first. Sanji was a little reluctant, but he had to go in. In the future, I have to share for everyone, protect my partners, and become stronger. Then I'm going in, and I'll miss you all. Sanji's heart aches at the thought of staying for 2 years without seeing any beautiful women. Wrong. Sanji's eyes lit up and asked, Luffy, teach the template, can you choose at will? Luffy was helpless, and already understood what Sanji was thinking. You want to choose a female teacher template. As soon as Luffy said this, Zoro and Nami stroked their foreheads and understood. No way, Sanji is like that. Sanji smiled, expectantly, yeah. Luffy said, you can choose at will, but the main thing is to choose the one that suits you. It can teach you better and make you stronger. It is best to teach you a strong body, a strong haki, if you are the best at it. Kick, that's the best. Speaking of which, Luffy couldn't think of a pirate who was good at kicking. Although there is a red-footed Zap, the strength of teaching templates must be at least Admiral, the Emperor. Luffy felt that the Grandpa Garp template could teach Sanji. Grandpa's physique is very strong. Although he is called Garp the Fist, as a top physique expert, his feet are naturally very strong. Sanji also felt the same way. He only had 1 chance to enter the practice. 2 years should be cherished and not to be missed. Choosing a teaching template should naturally suit you. The main purpose of entering is to improve your strength, and you will be better able to help your partners and solve the crisis in the future. But, if you can have both, that's the best. Strength, beauty. Zoro is helpless. It's just a teaching template, it's illusory, I can't touch it, and I don't have any feelings. I'm only responsible for teaching, and then disappear, and I won't talk about anything. Usopp also understands. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. However, Sanji insisted, you can't do anything, but you can also look good. However, he really can't think of anyone who is suitable. Sanji hopes to find a person who is strong in art, suitable for teaching himself, and can improve himself, and it is best to be a woman, which is the best. Sanji looked at Luffy expectantly. is there any? Choose a strong male template, a strong female template suitable for teaching me. Sanji feels that this will not waste, delaying himself, and the best of both worlds. Luffy thought for a while and said, okay, I'll satisfy you. Then you can go in and choose the Garp template, as well as the Ivankov template. Garp. Sanji knew, it was marine hero Garp, famous and male. Well, Ivankov is a woman. Thank you, Luffy, let me in quickly. Sanji couldn't wait, was grateful to Luffy, so nice to himself. Luffy started teleporting, and in the next instant, Sanji disappeared and appeared in the teaching space. Sanji felt heavy and breathless, but excited and looking forward to it. He naturally had to hand over the teaching template. He could only call one at a time, which was naturally the Ivankov template. Come out, Sanji shouted, thinking about the Ivankov template. In the next instant, a figure appeared in front of him, and Sanji was stunned. Immediately, a roar resounded through the teaching space. Luffy, you. Sanji is very broken, the teaching template in front of him is not a beauty. Even if the other party is a man, Sanji thinks it's nothing, but it is. Sanji was stunned, speechless. The figure in front of him was tall and had a huge face, with unusually huge dark purple bangs, long, thick eyelashes, light blue eyeshadow, and purple lip gloss. The clothes are also quite weird, with mesh stockings and capes, tight-fitting ultra-low Hungarian jumpsuits, revealing large skull tattoos on the abdominal muscles. Neither male nor female, it's too hot. Thinking of getting to meet him next time, Sanji is desperate and miserable. 2 teaching templates each had to be taught for a year, so Sanji couldn't let the Garp template teach himself for 2 years. How should I spend this year? Sanji had a headache. After 10 days of sailing, Luffy and others came to Rog. Nami introduced. This is the town of Rog. Any town where the pirates who want to go to the Grand Line gather, can buy everything they need here. Usopp couldn't wait. Okay, I'm going to collect some equipment for the big adventure that is about to begin. Zoro is also looking forward. I also want to buy something. Nami reminds. What do you want to buy? I remember you have no money. Zoro is also a little embarrassed, indeed. Luffy said. Then let's split up. I'm going to see the execution platform. Luffy couldn't wait to run to the square of Rog Town. Even if he was running on the street leading to Rog Town Square, Luffy was happy, because Roger, the Pirate King, might also walk through this street. Marine Branch Base in Rog Township. White smoke filled the air, and a sailor came in to report. There is news from the headquarters that it is said that Monkey D. Luffy's group has come to Rog Town. Straw Hat Luffy is a pirate with a bounty of 450 million Baileys from East Blue, and Roronoa Zoro has a bounty of 350 million Baileys. Hearing this, the figure surrounded by smoke shook. This person, of course, is Smoker. Smoker had heard of it, but he still couldn't believe it. 450 million Baileys is really high, but since I took charge of this town, I have never let the pirates who came here escape. Smoker stepped out, expectantly. Straw Hat Luffy, hopefully a funny guy. The sailors quickly followed, struggling. Colonel, please give orders to each unit to take down the Straw Hat crew. Smoker continued to walk forward and said lightly, no. However, considering the opponent's strength. Smoker paused and glanced back, his face a little gloomy. Don't be long-winded, don't point fingers at me. The sea soldiers were immediately frightened, and did not dare to say a word. Smoker asked, where's Tashigi? I saw it in the morning. I don't know where, but it must be in Rog Town. Smoker said helplessly, where did that running woman go? At this moment, a little girl happily took the ice cream she just bought, and couldn't wait to go home quickly. She bought 2 and ate it with her mother. Dad followed, with a happy, doting smile on his face. Don't run so fast, worry about falling to the ground. With a puff, the little girl didn't pay attention, bumped into Smoker, and the ice cream stuck to Smoker's trousers. The little girl was stunned, looked up, and was a little scared. The uncle in front of her looked fierce. The girl's father's face changed greatly. Colonel Smoker, my child took you, sorry. The man apologized again and again. The little girl looked at the ice cream in her hand. She couldn't eat it, it all fell, tears welling in her eyes. Smoker crouched down, cigar in his mouth, and pressed his right hand over the little girl's head. The girl's father thought it was over. However, the next scene made him stunned. Smoker became extra gentle. Sorry, my pants ate your ice cream, go get a 5-tier ice cream. Smoker took out 100 Baileys, put it in the little girl's pocket, got up and left. The girl's father thanks, thank you. The little girl is also happy, thank you. Smoker didn't turn, just raised his hand and waved in response. The little girl didn't expect to look fierce, but she was actually a warm uncle. At this point, Luffy was looking for the execution platform and got lost. Crossover became Luffy, and the characters merged, so everything was similar, and the characters barely changed. At this point, Luffy saw Smoker coming up the street and recognized it. Luffy stepped forward and asked, "Do you know where the execution platform is?" "I'm lost." Smoker hadn't seen Luffy's bounty, so didn't know what it looked like. Smoker asked, "Why go to the execution stand?" Luffy expects, "I want to see where One Piece died." The answer made Smoker startled, feeling emotional. "Follow the street where my smoke drifts, and you're there." "I'm so tired, thank you." Luffy trotted over. At this point, Zoro is shopping for a better knife. Got some money too, from Nami's. But you can know that Nami will not give the money so kindly, it is loaned to Zoro, and Zoro will return it 3 times later. ... Luffy ran along the road that he pointed, knowing in his heart that he didn't know himself when we met for the first time just now. But soon, there will be a fight with Smoker. However, the result will not be rescued by the dragon. Smoker, I don't want to fight you now. The reason why Luffy thinks like this is because there is a gap in strength. Before long, Smoker realized something. Straw Hat Luffy. Age, Straw Hat, all fit. Smoker frowned. Missed, anyway, the execution platform, he must be there. The Navy immediately reported, "Colonel, have you determined the location of Straw Hat Luffy? Now you can send 100 Navy soldiers immediately, and then the whole army can be dispatched." Smoker said impatiently, "It's a bunch of guys who don't understand human language. As I said, I'm enough alone." Smoker knew a little about the strength of Straw Hat Luffy, and even if he only needed to know a little, he didn't need these sailors to go there, and it was useless to go. Because, the Straw Hat Luffy has the qualifications of the King, Conqueror's Haki. At this time, Luffy came to the execution platform and was climbing up. Smoker arrived quickly, and as he thought, he was here. "Hey, boy, you're that Straw Hat Luffy with a bounty of 450 million Baileys from East Blue." "Yeah," Luffy said bluntly. Smoker's fighting spirit rises. "I'm Colonel Marine stationed in Rog Township, Smoker, and I'm going to arrest you." Luffy disagreed and refused. "Arresting me will not let you succeed. My adventure has just begun, or this is the starting point." Luffy's voice was unusually firm. "I'm going to the Grand Line and become the Pirate King." Smoker's pupils shrank, but it seemed a little funny. "One Piece, stop talking big. Smoker doesn't think this guy in front of him can become One Piece, that's all. Can you become the Pirate King? I don't know, you have to defeat me first before you can go to the Grand Line. However, it depends on whether you have the courage to fight me." Smoker is gearing up, ready to go. Luffy said, "Can't you go to the Grand Line without defeating you? Then, I will defeat you." Seeing Luffy in a raspy straw hat speaking innocuously, with a smile on his face, Smoker gets a little irritated. Luffy jumped down and looked around, there were too many people. Luffy suggested, "Let's fight on a street with no one can." Smoker also wants to meet Luffy, the Straw Hat, to see if he really has the strength of 450 million. Soon, the two found a deserted street and were ready to fight. In the dark, a man wearing a green coat with tattoos on his face was watching. He was Luffy's father, Monkey D. Dragon. "Although I was surprised that my son's bounty was as high as 450 million Bailey, I still came to see it. After all, this is the starting point, where the real adventure begins. If Luffy is in danger, he'll help one or two. So, keep an eye on this fight. Luffy has the best fight, and if he loses to this Smoker, he'll help." Long also knows that Smoker is not ordinary, or Logia, the smoke fruit ability, his own strength and fruit ability are not bad, so he still has to see. Long had some expectations in his heart. "Luffy, let me see if your growth is worth 450 million Baileys." Smoker's fighting spirit rises and he's confident. So young, he will definitely not be his opponent. Smoker didn't use the fruit ability directly, but moved quickly in an instant. Shave. Obviously, use Marine 6 styles first. Quickly swept behind Luffy, Smoker punched hard. At the same time, feeling a little disappointed in his heart, Smoker secretly said, "It seems, it's just like." However, the fist was thrown, and Smoker was startled, because it didn't touch the substance. Smoker's eyes widened and his pupils shrank, because the figure in front of him gradually dissipated. It was an afterimage. So fast. Smoker was startled, but he was able to react. The dragon in the dark shakes, this observation hockey. Second gear. When Smoker came to his senses, he heard a low growl from Luffy. Looking at the sound, Luffy has entered the second gear, his body is dark red, and he is bubbling with red steam. What's this? Smoker frowned, not being careless. Whoosh. In the next instant, Luffy disappeared in front of Smoker. Smoker vibrates, hard to catch. Just as he was about to turn into smoke, Luffy suddenly attacked. Rubber jet rocket launcher. His hands were instantly stretched, and his fists covered the pitch-black armament hockey and blasted fiercely. The Smoker is also unusual. Although it can't dodge, it is difficult to smoke, but it is also a defense at a critical moment. Iron body. Boom. Ah. Smoker slashed back 10 meters and slammed a deep depression into the wall. Smoker fell to one knee suddenly, his eyes bulging and the pain was excruciating, his right hand clutching his stomach. Cough cough. Smoker coughed down, coughing up a lot of blood. Luffy proposes. Don't use the iron body for self-obsessing behavior in the future. Smoker shook. How could his attack power be so strong? He clearly defended himself with all his strength, but he was still injured, even a serious one. Smoker began to swell around him. Obviously, he had to use his full strength and use his devil fruit ability. Smoker thinks, Luffy must be serious, he wasn't serious just now. White fist. Smoker's arms and legs smoky, his smoky limbs stretched out, fists and feet slammed into Luffy. After hitting your opponent, you can grab or slam your opponent with smoke. Swoosh swish. The smoke fists continued to bombard rapidly, but Smoker was shocked, because Luffy moved a little, and he avoided his own attack, which seemed very easy. Luffy moved again, Smoker focused, his body elemental. However, in the face of armament hockey, useless. Boom. Smoker couldn't react again and was blasted out, frightened, elementalization was useless, and he vomited blood again. Luffy secretly said, "The gap is really too big now, so let's end it quickly." Suddenly, Luffy disappeared from Smoker's sight. Smoker uses a white blast to turn his body into smoke. This move expands the range of the smoke and involves a large number of opponents and then re-solidifies the smoke, or directly suffocates the opponent through the smoke. However, he did this to avoid being attacked. After all, the smoke range was too large. Although Luffy's speed and attack are stronger than himself, but expanding the range, then. However, Smoker noticed Luffy and wondered why he wasn't around, but looked up, above. And, blowing with the hand in front of the mouth, the arm fist suddenly became huge, like the arm of a giant, and covered with pitch-black armament hockey. Third gear. Rubber giant pistol. Boom. What? After a scream, there was a deafening roar, and the ground was hollowed out. The gravel was flying, and the dust was swirling. Luffy fell to the ground, and his body returned to its original shape. The dust dissipated, and in the pit, Smoker lay, wounded, too badly to fight. This battle, he lost so fast, it can be said that he was crushed. Smoker shook, unbelievable, never imagined this would be the case. The dragon in the dark also vibrated, and it was unexpected. Long Shin was relieved. As expected of my son. Smoker is a little suspicious of life, how the gap is so big. Smoker also knew, and determined that the Straw Hat Luffy had the strength of 450 million. Although he was hanged and beaten, he was still able to accept being beaten like this by 450 million pirates. Smoker knew there was no way he could leave the Straw Hat Luffy in Rog. As expected of a reward of 450 million, did you go all out in the battle just now? Although he lost, Smoker also wanted to get some valuable information, at least he tried out the true strength of the Straw Hat. Knowing the opponent's true strength is important, and it is also valuable to lose. Smoker wondered, are you using all your strength? He himself must have gone all out, watching the Straw Hat fight with him, and defeating him like this. He must have used all his strength, but he still has to ask. At this time, the dragon in the dark also calmed down, ready to listen. Luffy shook his head. Full force. Of course not. Luffy is as blunt as ever. This made Smoker startled, and so did the dragon. Just now, wasn't it all out? Smoker was extremely shocked. How come, not full force? After the shock, Smoker tried to calm himself down, thinking, not at full strength, at least close to full strength, right? A little reservation is normal. Smoker asked curiously, so, what percentage of your strength did you just show? 90%, or 80%? Luffy thought for a while and said, well, it's less than 30%. Smoker. Dragon. Smoker is stunned. 30%, less than. He was even more unbelievable, thought it was impossible, what a joke. He defeated himself so easily, and the result was less than 30% of his strength. How is this possible? Even with a reward of 450 million, it is impossible to do this. Stop kidding. Smoker couldn't believe it. Luffy was helpless. If you don't believe me, there's nothing I can do. Well, I'm going to see the execution platform. With a wave of his hand, Luffy turned to leave. Smoker stared blankly at the back of Luffy's departure, shocked. Less than 30%, is it true? Smoker feels that the worldview has collapsed. How can he be so strong at such a young age? It is impossible that this age is close to the existence of Admiral, right? That would be terrifying. Smoker was firm in his heart. As Marine, seeing such a monster rookie pirate appeared, he naturally wanted to motivate himself. I'm going to get stronger. I'm going to catch up with you until you get arrested. Smoker got up and left in embarrassment. At this time, the dragon also shook. Luffy is so strong. Long didn't think his son was joking. Although he didn't see it often, he was concerned about it. Luffy was not the type to talk big. So, it must be true. The strength shown just now is very strong, and the result is less than 30%. Long imagined what the strength of the battle would be if he went all out. Long understood a general idea in his heart and was relieved. In this case, he would be able to deal with future adventures. I was worried at first, because the Straw Hat Pirates are in the limelight now. Not long after leaving the sea, as a newcomer, the first reward was so high. Captain, Straw Hat Luffy, 450 million. Even if this is the case, the first crew member recruited is also extremely strong, 350 million. Therefore, such a pirate group is very terrifying, and Marine will attach great importance to it. Long feels that if the limelight continues in the future, it is possible for Marine to send an admiral to personally deal with the Straw Hat Pirates. Therefore, the dragon's heart is worried, but he can't worry too much. The flowers in the greenhouse can't stand the wind and rain, and excessive protection will only be detrimental to them and only properly protected. Long felt that it might really be what he thought. I can also feel a little more at ease, but if you really encounter Admiral, I hope you can deal with it. If you can't deal with it, I will take action. However, I can save 1 or 2 times at most. It mainly depends on you. This is also what you must experience. Immediately, the wind whistled, and the dragon god disappeared like a ghost. After 1 day, Luffy and others have completed what they have to do and are all ready. Before leaving, have a big meal in Loguetown. After all, Sanji is teaching the space and can't come out yet. Luffy missed a little. I miss Sanji, I'm going to enter the Grand Line. Although a lot of food is prepared, Sanji is better. Nami said, you want Sanji to cook? Hehe, I want to. Usopp thought, Sanji should be very happy there. Luffy, what do you think? After all, you recommended him. Luffy nodded. Well, Sanji will definitely be grateful to me for coming out. In the teaching space, Sanji cried, stop chasing me. This scene was originally Sanji's dream, being chased by a group of girls. It is a dream for him to chase a group of girls, let alone a group of girls chased by him. But now, it's not a man or a woman who is chasing him, it's a she-male, each one looks more frightening than the other. Sanji is broken and can only run fast. What troubled him the most was that he couldn't fight Ivankov at all. Luffy, I hate you. Sanji felt in hell. Rog, get ready, the 4 of Luffy aboard. Looking at the sea, looking forward, yearning, to enter the Grand Line. The real adventure begins. The Mary began to sail, and the Luffy Four looked in anticipation. Nami suggested, "Come to the launching ceremony." Luffy and the others nodded and stepped on the barrel. Luffy said condensedly, "I want to be the Pirate King." Zoro put his foot on it. "I want to become the world's largest swordsman." Nami stepped on the barrel and said firmly, "I want to draw a map of the world." Usopp was left, and after a brief pondering, his eyes were firm. "I want to be a brave warrior at sea." Although Sanji wasn't there, the four of Luffy knew what would happen to Sanji. Naturally, to find all blue. The voyage began, and before I knew it, 2 months had passed since Sanji entered the teaching space. At this point, Luffy and others are about to approach the Red Line. In this short time, I met Abyss and protected the Millennium Dragon. On the deck, Luffy's four were looking forward to Sanji coming out. Whoosh! Just then, Sanji emerged. "Sanji, you came out." Luffy, they were happy. Sanji is very depressed, but also happy because his strength has improved a lot. Although Luffy let himself choose Ivankov, he has to say that he has improved a lot. And in the first year, I got used to it. However, Sanji still burst into tears. "Luffy, do you know what I've been through?" Seeing Sanji cry, Zoro and the others were unexpected. "Didn't you choose a beauty template for Sanji?" Luffy scratched his head and said, "It's good to be stronger." Sanji couldn't get angry anymore. Although Ivankov was very hot, he was still able to see after the transformation, and it also caused himself to bleed many times. Sanji came out, and Nami didn't rush in, because he was about to enter the Grand Line and needed himself as a navigator. "So, I can't go in yet. You can wait for a certain island and then enter by yourself. You must always pay attention to the Grand Line's sailing." Although it is not clear about Sanji's current strength, it is conceivable that he must be very strong. Now that there are 4 major battles on the ship, Nami thinks it is almost the same. Even if it is against Marine's powerful battles, it can be dealt with. As long as it's not Admiral, it can be dealt with. Therefore, I am not in a hurry to enter. The most important thing in front of me is to enter the Grand Line. It is impossible without me. The voyage continued. Nami looked at the map. The voyage was her responsibility. Nami was a little puzzled. It should be about to see the Red Line. Luffy excited. "Finally going to the Grand Line." Nami said, "The picture shows the canal going up the mountain. It should be climbed up along the canal." Zoro was surprised. Even if there is a canal, how can a boat climb a mountain? Nami also thinks it's magical, but believes that's how it's drawn on the picture. Looking at Zoro, who doesn't believe it, Sanji believes it. Miss Nami's words, how could it be wrong? Nami's eyes lit up after he pondered, and he understood. "We have to get into the canal, or if we follow the current and fail to get into the canal, the Mary will hit the Red Line and be torn apart." Nami said sternly, "Now that our ship has taken the sea, as long as we steer well, we can rush to the top of the upside-down mountain in one breath. If we fail to master it, it will hit the Red Line." Sanji praised, "Miss Nami, you are amazing." Zoro still felt incredible. A boat can climb a mountain. Sanji smiled. "I've heard of it." Zoro was surprised. "Have you heard of it? Is it reliable?" "It has to be reliable." Sanji firmly believed. Sanji didn't say that he actually climbed the Red Line by boat when he was a child, but said he heard it. The sky was overcast, the rain was pouring down, the sea was rushing, Luffy and the others were busy and couldn't hit the Red Line. Soon, Luffy and the others lit up and saw Red Line. Obstructed by the clouds and fog above, at first glance, you can't see the top end of the Red Line. Nami watched carefully, found the entrance to the canal, and saw a gap in the Red Line. After approaching, the gap widened. Zoro was surprised, because the sea water went up along the gap, and it was an upward canal. This way, the boat can really climb mountains. Sanji and Usopp are at the helm together, and the current is strong, but both of them are improved and fully in control. Soon, the boat accurately faced the gap and climbed up in an instant. The speed is very fast, and it keeps going up along the canal. Luffy and others face the sea breeze and keep going up. Soon, through the clouds, Luffy and others saw the top of the mountain. With a swoosh, the ship rushed to the top of the mountain, flew in the air, stopped briefly, and the ship fell down the downward current. As the boat continued to descend, the five of Luffy looked down and were about to enter the Grand Line. Zoro's eyes were firm. Hawkeye is on the Grand Line. Sanji yearning. All Blue is there. Nami, to draw a map of the world. Usopp, to be a brave sea warrior. Luffy, to become One Piece. While saying this, Luffy still has a lot of thoughts in his heart, that is, we must make changes. Alabasta, Sky Island, Enies Lobby, Impel Down, and most importantly, on top. Also, Wano Kuni. Now, it's time to start. Soon, it is about to reach below, through the clouds. Following that, Nami and the others changed their expressions. Logically speaking, it would be an exit going down, but why? There is a black mountain wall ahead, so it will hit it. But when they got closer, they could see clearly that it was not a black mountain, but a huge whale blocking it. The whale is so huge that even a single tooth in its mouth is a little bigger than the Mary. He's blocking the road, what to do? Usopp was anxious. Nami said heavily. He opened his mouth and the boat was about to enter it. Leave it to me. Luffy took a step forward. Luffy didn't release Conqueror's Haki, knowing that it was Laboon, the whale, was unstoppable. It can only knock you back. Luffy jumped up and used Gear 3, his fists and arms suddenly huge. However, in the face of Laboon, it is still very small. Covering the pitch-black armament Haki, Luffy punches Laboon over the head. Boom! With a roar, Laboon was directly overturned backwards. I'm here to help too. Zoro stepped forward and gave a low drink. Black rope, big tornado. Woo-hoo-hoo. The tornado whistled, and it was replaced by Zoro at the beginning. The power of this tornado can be said to be equivalent to a breeze for Laboon, which is as huge as a small island. But now the powerful Zoro, the big black rope tornado still rolled up Laboon a little and flew back a distance. In this way, the exit was no longer blocked, and the Mary sailed out and stopped on the parallel sea. This made Nami relieved, thinking it was over, swallowed alive, and with Luffy and Zoro. Even after practicing for 2 years, Usopp was still shocked. Just about to enter the Grand Line, I encountered this kind of monster. Is the Grand Line so scary? This is a bit beyond Usopp's understanding. I know it's scary, but it won't be so scary, right? Encountering such a huge creature at the very beginning. However, when Laboon fell, it made a humming sound that shook Luffy and others' eardrums. And, with a big mouth, the surrounding sea water suddenly rushed in, and the Mary naturally flowed along. This makes Nami's face change greatly. What should I do? Even if Luffy, Zoro, Sanji are powerful, they can't stop it. It's impossible to control the sea water. At this point, Luffy really had no choice. With his own strength, he can deal with such a huge Laboon, but now it opens its mouth, and the surrounding sea water is surging. No matter how strong the power of the Mary is, it cannot flow back, so it can only follow the sea water to get close to the big mouth of Laboon. Of course, you can jump on top of Laboon's head. Although Laboon is as huge as a mountain, Luffy will also moonwalk and can go up. After going up, you can use the third gear to punch down, and the powerful force is enough to make Laboon shut up. However, I'm afraid that after shutting up at that time, the Mary also bumped into Laboon's teeth. That way, the Mary will be destroyed. So after thinking about it, Luffy didn't do anything, and it was nothing to enter Laboon's stomach anyway. Nami screamed, Luffy, what to do? Luffy lay on the deck, which left Nami stunned. Luffy said, there is no way. Screaming, the Mary followed the sea into Laboon's mouth. The Mary spun, and Nami and the others were dizzy. When the Mary was no longer spinning, they felt better, looked up, and were a little dazed. It stands to reason that it should have entered the belly of the huge whale, but why? It seems that it is still outside. Because, one day, there is the sea, and there is even a small island in front of it with a house on it. Nami rubbed his eyes to make sure that it was true. Isn't it a hallucination? Nami wondered. Zoro was also stunned. It was obviously swallowed. What happened? Someone came out. Usopp noticed a figure coming out of the house. Luffy looked at it and knew who it was, the Roger Pirate's ship doctor, Crocus. After Crocus came out, he was used to it, so which pirate ship was swallowed. However, looking at the boat, Crocus's pupils shrank, his eyes locked on Luffy, to be precise, on the straw hat on Luffy's head. In his mind, Roger's figure could not help but emerge. The figure of Shanks also appeared, which Shanks gave him. Introduce myself first. My name is Crocus. I'm the lighthouse keeper at Twin Points. As for where this is, it's my private holiday center. Nami didn't believe it. Private holiday center. We were swallowed by a mountain-like whale, shouldn't it be in its stomach? However, I am very puzzled. There are blue sky and white clouds, and there are still people living here. What is going on here? Crocus reminded. Look, the blue sky and white clouds, and the seagulls, don't move. This reminder, Nami and others have noticed, indeed. Crocus explained. Because, it was painted. Drawn. Nami and others were even more shocked. Is it so outrageous? Then, they believed, because they found that it was not an island, but a ship that resembled an island. Here is the stomach of the whale, these are all painted. Soon, the sea surged up. Crocus said. Don't panic, it's Laboon hitting the red line with his head. Nami understood. No wonder there were so many scars on his head. But, why hit it? Crocus explained, and then Nami and the others understood. The Rumba pirates decided to enter the Grand Line for an adventure. Because the Grand Line was too dangerous, the Rumba pirates could only leave Laboon in front of the upside-down mountain, let Laboon wait there for a while, and said something. We'll meet when we circle the world and come back. So little Laboon stayed in tears, waiting for the return of the Rumba pirates on this side of the Red Line. However, this wait is 50 years. The vicissitudes of life have changed over the years, and the small whale has become a whale that is bigger than the island, and even has an ocean in its body. Everything in the world has changed, and Laboon is still waiting on the Red Line's side for the master's return. Wanting to see its owner, it has been banging its head against the unbreakable Red Line for decades, scaring itself and neighing sadly. This whale as big as an island lives every day in this way. The days of waiting, unbeknownst to it, were that its owners had died fighting on the Grand Line decades ago. Nami and others felt so pitiful when they found out, and they were fortunate to have been swallowed, otherwise they would not have known about it. It quickly became acquainted with Crocus. Luffy said, I'll let it change, just give him a new waiting target. In addition, since he's here and knows the follow-up, Luffy naturally has to do one thing. You are the ship doctor. Well, I know your hat, Captain Rogers. This shocked Zoro and the others, the ship doctor of the Roger Pirates. Luffy giggled. So, can you prepare some medicine for us? We don't have a ship doctor yet. If anyone gets sick, it will be troublesome. Crocus nodded. Small idea, I'll prepare it for you. Thanks, it's okay, as long as you can make Laboon stop being like this, I'm not busy enough. Chapter 31. After hearing about Laboon, Usopp sighed. 50 years is so long, that group of guys made it wait long enough. Sanji was not surprised, and sighed softly, this is the Grand Line, and it's not like we'll see you when we meet again. Usopp understood what Sanji meant and couldn't help it. Sanji breathed in smoke, guessing, they must be dead, and they won't come back no matter how much they wait. Reflecting on history, Nami said solemnly, I remember 50 years ago, the Grand Line, which was more chaotic and terrifying seas untouched by humans than now. Usopp felt hopeless if he couldn't do this, and said condensedly, don't say these things that make people feel hopeless, it's not certain, maybe he can come back and see you again. Although Usopp said so, but Nami, Zoro, Sanji felt that thinking that way, it was just self-deception. After all, it's been 50 years, and it's too early to come back. Moreover, 50 years is too long. Even if they were their age when they went to sea, they are now almost 70 years old. At such an age, are you still on the Grand Line? Looking at the silent Sanji and the others, Usopp looked at Luffy and asked. Luffy, what do you think? Luffy grinned. I think we'll see you again. This made Usopp's eyes light up. Zoro and the others were surprised. Did Luffy think so too? Subsequently, the Mary came out of Laboon's belly. After coming out, Luffy and Laboon start a fight. The battle stopped in the middle of the battle, and the outcome was undecided. Luffy agreed. We haven't decided yet, so we have to keep fighting. I will always be your opponent. We must fight again and decide the winner. After we circle the Grand Line, we will come looking for you. At that time, let's decide the winner. Laboon wept, raised his head and growled, in response to Luffy, agreed. Just as Luffy and the others were about to leave, the two climbed ashore. Luffy recognized it was Vivi and Mr. 9. Vivi's current identity, Mr. 3. I ask you one thing. Vivi and Mr. 9 knelt down and talked. Luffy said, Whiskey Peak. Yes, we really want to go back to town. The reason we can't say, the company's purpose is to be mysterious, sorry. Vivi said sincerely. I like your character, so I ask for your help. We will definitely repay this kindness. Nami said, however, our record pointer is broken. This made Mr. 9's eyes light up, and he quickly took it out. This is ours, for your use. Nami takes over the record pointer. Vivi and Mr. 9 look forward to it. Can we ask for your help? Nami shook his head. I have to think about it, it's too suspicious after all. At this point, Luffy decided, okay, you guys get on the boat. You said to go to Whiskey Peak, then go there. With Vivi, it's natural to get to know each other, so let's go with the flow. Usopp felt a little sloppy and confirmed the question. Luffy, are you really going to bring these two unknown guys on board? Luffy wanted to defeat Crocodile as soon as possible, but some process still had to go. It's impossible to say it directly, I'll help you solve Crocodile, it's too abrupt. Luffy didn't care. It's okay, don't care about this little thing. Usopp and the others are helpless, is it a trivial matter to be unknown? But, Luffy decided, they listened naturally. Okay, let's go to Whiskey Peak. The target was identified, and the Mary set sail. Naval Headquarters. Sengoku knew what happened to the Straw Hat Luffy and others in Loguetown, knew that Smoker was defeated, and also knew that he was defeated easily. But, to get a better understanding, Sengoku asked Smoker to come in person. Garp has always been laid back, but he came here a lot during this time, mainly to learn more. The Marshal's office, Sengoku, Garp, Smoker also walked in. Marshal Sengoku, Smoker said respectfully. Sit down, Smoker, and talk slowly. Sengoku's face was heavy, and he was aware of Smoker's strength. Although I learned about the strength of the pirate hunter Zoro through Hawkeye, and also knew that the Straw Hat Luffy is very strong, Hawkeye did not fight against the Straw Hat Luffy. And Smoker fought, so Smoker should know better. Smoker started talking about the fight, but it was short because it ended so quickly. Sengoku was surprised, and Smoker was crushed. Sengoku and Garp were both shocked when they heard that Luffy said less than 30%. After the surprise, they are all heavy, but for different reasons. A monster rookie pirate such as Sengoku Heavy appeared, and Garp was worried about Marine's high combat power. Sengoku exclaimed, it's so strong, it seems that what Hawkeye said is not false, the bounty of 400 million is too small, maybe there really is. Thinking of this, Sengoku was even more shocked. Hawkeye said, maybe the Straw Hat Luffy, the bounty of 1 billion is no problem. After thinking about it, Sengoku decided, perhaps, it's time to raise the bounty for the Straw Hat Boy. This made Garp, who was sitting, twitch his brows and asked, Sengoku, how much are you going to raise the bounty to? Sengoku thought about it, and suddenly, the office fell silent. Smoker also thinks that 400 million may be too low. Less than 30% is so strong, but I clearly felt that the original battle, the Straw Hat was also serious. Or, there are other forms. Thinking of Luffy's second gear, the third gear changes his body, maybe, there are other forms. Thinking of this, Smoker thought it was possible. Looking at Sengoku at the same time, Smoker is also curious how much Marshal Sengoku will raise the Straw Hat bounty. Smoker thinks the next numbers are reasonable, after all, Marshal Sengoku is also the resourceful general. After a brief hesitation, Sengoku decided and said sternly, raise the bounty of the Straw Hat Boy to 1 billion Baileys. After Sengoku finished, Smoker and Garp were shocked, a billion Bailey. Only 17 years old, a newcomer who has just gone to sea, with a bounty of 1 billion Baileys, which is unprecedented. Smoker thought that Sengoku might raise the bounty to around 7 or 8 billion, but 1 billion was something he didn't expect. But think about what Luffy said, 30% is less than strength, so with all your strength, there may really be a billion. Moreover, he is too young and has a lot of potential, so he can understand it after being surprised for a short time. Smoker also felt worthy of being Marshal Sengoku, very decisive. After Garp was surprised, his heart became heavier. Luffy offered a bounty of billions of Bailey, which was not a good thing, it meant more danger. Sengoku said in a condensed voice, we have to pay more attention. Although Straw Hat Crew has entered the Grand Line, we have to take action. After a brief hesitation, Sengoku decided. What Smoker is looking forward to, what kind of decision, what kind of combat power is dispatched. And, on the inside, Smoker was actually a little worried. This made him very uneasy. As a Marine, how could he worry about a pirate? Although Luffy feels very good about himself, just as he feels very good about Roger, he can't have such thoughts. Smoker heard that Garp and Roger are both foes and friends. Will he be foes and friends with the Straw Hat in the future? No, I am a righteous Marine, and my opponent is a pirate. Smoker thought no more, waiting for Sengoku's decision. Garp prayed inwardly, don't send Admiral against them. Send yourself to go, at least you can put water. But sending Admiral's words, Garp also knew that Sengoku wouldn't let himself go. Sengoku made a decision and said in a condensed voice, send multiple Vice Admiral, Elite Vice Admiral and many elite seamen. The battleship was not very useful in the past, even if it can be won, there will be a lot of sacrifices. So, send an Admiral directly. Bar. This made Smoker shake, and sure enough, send an Admiral to take down the Straw Hat Crew. So, which of the three Admiral would it be? Garp's brows furrowed and he didn't say a word, his heart was naturally bad. No matter which Admiral it is dangerous for the Straw Hat Pirates. Sengoku has already made up his mind and said, I will contact Aokiji to find the Straw Hat Pirates, and then take the Straw Hat Crew. Smoker's heart froze, Admiral Aokiji. In his heart, Smoker felt sorry for the Luffys. As a rookie, he was too sharp and would be targeted by Admiral. Although Luffy is very strong, it is impossible to match Admiral. Even if the Straw Hat Pirates are together, it will be difficult. The Straw Hat Pirates that I know now are the two strongest ones, the Straw Hat Luffy, and the pirate hunter, Roronoa Zoro. So, sending an Admiral was enough, even Smoker thought it was too much. However, in order to stifle such a newcomer, it is also understandable. Smoker sighed inwardly, Straw Hats, ask for your own blessings. After Sengoku made his decision, he glanced at Garp who said nothing, and saw that Garp's face was not good. Garp, are you all right? I can't help it. As Marine, I hope you can understand. Sengoku's meaning was obvious, and Garp made his position clear. Garp shook his head. I'm fine, I've decided, then I'll go on vacation first. Sengoku is not allowed on vacation, in case Garp runs over to help. Garp, wait a while, about your vacation. Sengoku said in a deep voice. Garp said sternly, Sengoku, you also know me. What you are worried about will not happen, I know my position. No matter how uncomfortable and complicated Garp was, he wouldn't try to help. I know, but wait. Garp was helpless and said nothing. After that, Sengoku contacted Vice Admiral Crane to arrange to update the Straw Hat Luffy's bounty. Soon, the new bounty list will be printed and sent all over the world. The Mary sailed on the Grand Line to Whiskey Peak. Just then, a bounty list fell. On the deck, Nami and the others looked down and saw that it was Luffy's. Usopp picked it up and looked at it, shouting, Luffy's bounty list, eh? It's updated, how come it has become 100 million Baileys? Usopp is surprised, why is this, how did it drop? Luffy was also stunned, my bounty has been updated and lowered. 100 million Baileys. Luffy was surprised, if it was true, he would not be in a good mood. Hearing this, Zoro, Nami, and Sanji also came over. Just at first glance, I thought it was really lower, 100 million Bailey, because the first number is 1, followed by a string of 0. Wei Wei and Mr. 9 are shaking, and 100 million Bailey is also very powerful. Mr. 9, I've heard, Straw Hat Luffy, that the first bounty was 450 million Bailey. It was still too exaggerated. The estimate was wrong, and it dropped to 100 million. Vivi, 100 million is also very powerful. Don't be disappointed. Among the newcomers, 100 million is the top. Zoro is puzzled. If Luffy's bounty is lowered and he feels that the estimate is too high, he will update and lower his own bounty, right? But I didn't see my own. After all, Luffy is the captain, the crew's own, can't be higher than the captain. After Zoro realized, Nami realized too. As a financial fan, she is very sensitive to numbers and quickly realized that something was wrong. Taking a closer look, Nami's eyes widened, his pupils contracted, and he subconsciously exclaimed. My God, no, not 100 million Baileys. No, Usopp and the others were startled, why not? Nami exclaimed, you count carefully. Not 100 million Baileys, but 1 billion Baileys. What? In an instant, the Straw Hats were startled. Luffy was delighted to hear a billion. Ha ha ha, a billion, that's great. If it was a billion, then Luffy felt normal. Zoro, Sanji, Usopp are all shocked, billion Bailey. They looked carefully, counted them one by one, and found that it was really a billion. That's amazing, Luffy has a billion bounty. Usopp couldn't believe it. Zoro praised. Amazing. Sanji looks forward to. My bounty hasn't come out yet, hurry up to meet a strong enemy, show my own strength, let Marine publish my bounty, and let the world see my handsome photos. No, it's to let the world all the beauty saw my handsome photos. Sanji began to fantasize about being handsome, and then offering a reward of hundreds of millions, so cool, it will definitely fascinate many beauties. Moreover, those beautiful pirates will definitely worship themselves very much, that would be too beautiful. Usopp felt that he also had to have a bounty list, and it couldn't be too low to hold him back. At this point, Vivi and Mr. 9 still don't believe it, 1 billion. What are you kidding? They looked closer, counted one by one, and were startled. They stayed where they were, dumbfounded, murmuring to themselves. Really a billion Baileys. Even for Crocodile, the bounty is only 81 million Baileys. I used to think that the Straw Hats' bounty was estimated to be too high, and it was normal to drop to 100 million. Vivi looked at Luffy deeply. So young, why is it a billion? I can't see it. ... Ace, who was sailing alone, saw the bounty list. It's Luffy's, naturally interested. Seeing the bounty, Ace was also startled, subconsciously thinking it was a correction. I thought it was too high before, so I lowered it. But after a closer look, Ace is also shocked, a billion Bailey. After the surprise, Ace was relieved, proud, and laughed. Ha ha ha, as expected of my brother, Luffy, it's amazing. But then, Ace was worried. After all, it's too hard-edged. The newcomers who have not gone to sea for a long time have a bounty of 1 billion. In the previous bounty, it was impossible for Luffy to be known to everyone and spread all over the world, but this time, even if it is not known to everyone, even if it is not really found in every corner of the world, it will definitely be famous. World. If so, it's not good. It would be nice if the Straw Hat Pirates grew in size. Luffy still had friends, but now he knew it wasn't many. So, Ace is worried. Such monsters, Marine will pay more attention and send more powerful combat power, at that time. Ace's face was low and firm. No matter who it is, don't try to hurt my brother, Luffy, no matter what happens to you in the future, I will help you. Ace swore in his heart that nothing would happen to his brother. Knowing that Luffy will be in danger, but still has his big brother. ... Red-haired pirates on board. Boss, look at it. What's the matter? In such a hurry? Shanks was a little surprised. It's about Luffy. This got Shanks interested. Picking it up, Shanks was startled. Billion Baileys. Yeah, I was dazzled when I saw it. Usopp couldn't believe it. Just showing how easy it was to defeat Smoker in Loguetown, and no big deal, raise the bounty to 1 billion Baileys. This is the reason for their astonishment. If it is said that they have defeated the existence of 8.9 billion Baileys and rise to 1 billion Baileys, they can still understand, but it is directly 1 billion. Shanks exclaimed. Luffy, amazing, it seems that defeating that Smoker, Luffy didn't have enough strength, Marine knew, so he raised the bounty. This shocked the cadres of the Redheads. Thinking back to when Luffy was 6 years old, he was a little kid. In terms of strength, there is basically no, but Luffy's spirit is there. I knew that Luffy was not ordinary in the future, but I didn't expect such a monster, even Shanks didn't expect it. Shanks expects. Luffy, maybe it won't be long before we meet. But, until then. Halfway through, Shanks' face became solemn. Known as the world's smartest Beckman, he also thought of it long ago. Usopp and the other cadres, looking at Shanks' expression, also guessed it. That is, the more outrageous it is, the more dangerous the road will be in the future. Whether it will go all the way, or flash like a shooting star, it is uncertain. Shanks said to himself, Luffy, the road ahead will be more difficult. I hope to see you in the future, but don't fall down too soon. The Mobity on the Sea of New World. It was the Whitebeard pirates. Dad, look quickly. What's the matter? Ace's thing, or Teach? Speaking of Teach, Whitebeard's face was a little ugly, and his eyes were low. In addition, about Ace, he is concerned, other things, almost not interested. Father, neither. Whitebeard was leaning back in his chair, drinking the potion, lost interest. Even if he is old and has a hanging bottle on his body, he is still powerful and the strongest man in the world. Marco said, Dad, it's about his little brother, Luffy, that Ace talks about a lot. Whitebeard's closed eyes opened slightly with a hint of interest. After all, Ace often praised himself and showed off his younger brother. What? Whitebeard asked. Dad, look. Marco was shaking, which made Whitebeard think maybe it was something interesting. Whitebeard was shocked by the result of offering a reward. Straw Hat Luffy, 17 years old, captain of the Straw Hat Pirates, with a bounty of 1 billion Baileys. It's really the back waves of the Yangtze River pushing the front waves. Whitebeard sighed in admiration. It was a huge praise to have the strongest man in the world say this. Whitebeard recalled Ace's frequent compliments and bragging, and smiled, Kula-la-la. It seems that Ace didn't exaggerate, his brother is really unusual. Marco exclaimed. Yeah, it's incredible that a newcomer who has just gone to sea can reach 1 billion Baileys in an instant. He is indeed Ace's younger brother. In the past, Ace often said that Whitebeard took the name Luffy in his heart, and now he remembers Luffy even more. Naval headquarters is not far from the sea. If anyone sees this scene, it will feel like an illusion, because there is a person riding a bicycle at sea. As you ride, the water in front of the front wheel freezes a trail, which is why it's possible to ride a bike at sea. The cyclist, about 47, wearing a white suit and curly black hair, was Admiral Aokiji. The goal of this trip is to win the Straw Hat crew. The increase of Luffy's bounty has caused a great shock in the world, and Luffy's reputation has also greatly improved. The Mary was sailing on the Grand Line when suddenly there was a blizzard of shaki at sea and the temperature plummeted. Nami was wrapped in a down jacket, looking out through the window in the houseboat. It was still snowing, and her body was still shivering and complaining. What's the matter with the weather? It was still very warm just now. Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, Usopp didn't feel cold, they were still in their old clothes. After all, the four are all strong, and after cultivating in the teaching space for 2 years, the environment is even worse. The four of Luffy squatted with snowmen on the deck, enjoying themselves. Sanji was in charge of shoveling snow and asked, Miss Nami, when will you shovel snow with love? Nami said, shovel until the snow is over. Okay, Miss Nami. Sanji continued to shovel the snow with great energy. Mr. Nine shivered coldly and asked, does your ship have no heating facilities? Vivi was wrapped in the sheets, still shivering coldly, it's so cold. Nami roared. Don't be long-winded, you were just asking for our help, you are not a guest, hurry up and shovel the snow. Rumbling. Suddenly, thunder roared, the sky was overcast, and the sky became dark. Woo-hoo-hoo. Then there was a strong wind like howling and howling, giving a prelude to a storm. Nami sighed. The weather at the Grand Line is really fickle. Vivi reminds. You haven't been at the helm since just now, does it matter? Nami still thought what was going on and shook his head. It doesn't matter, I have adjusted the direction. However, Nami glanced at the recording pointer, and his face changed in surprise. The direction the ship was traveling was the opposite of the pointer. Nami was shocked and realized that he was careless and underestimated the Grand Line. Nami ran out the first time and hurriedly said, turn the boat 180 degrees, hurry up. Sanji asked, Miss Nami, is something behind? Nami shook his head to explain. No, the boat turned around automatically and was heading in the direction we came from, so I quickly turned around. I just didn't pay attention to recording the pointer for a while, and then something changed. The sea was very calm, but it fell off. Head. Vivi confirmed the question. Are you really a navigator? In the Grand Line, whether it is the wind, the sky, the waves, the clouds, you can't trust it. The only thing you can trust is the direction the pointer is pointing. Change. Nami kicked Vivi and Mr. 9 out with an angry kick, shouting, "Stop talking, go shoveling the snow." Usopp sympathized. "I don't know Nami, it's weird to say that I don't get beat up." Nami looked at the pointer carefully, and after observing, began to make adjustments. Pull the jib to bring the right string into the wind and turn the boat 180 degrees to the left. Usopp, go pull the jib. Sanji, go take the helm. After the arrangement, suddenly, the weather changed again. Nami had a headache, and continued to observe and arrange. The footsteps on the boat were constant and it was very busy. Usopp looked at Zoro, very helpless. Zoro lay in the corner and fell asleep, his body was covered with snow. "Ah, no, there's a huge iceberg ahead. It's getting foggy. What to do? The ship is about to hit. ... For a time, Usopp, Vivi, and Mr. 9's expressions changed drastically. Mr. 9 burst into tears and was very scared. "Woo woo woo, I was looking for help, but now I'm going to die, buried in the icy sea." Vivi is also afraid. "I don't want to die." Nami had a headache. What the hell is going on in this sea area? Nami thought it was too difficult, but as a navigator, this was something he had to overcome. "Leave it to me." Luffy was about to start. Nami looked apologetic. "Sorry, Luffy, for my negligence." Luffy didn't care. "It's okay, just entered the Grand Line, you are not familiar with it yet." Luffy's stomach swelled suddenly, like a hot air balloon, and his stomach shrank as he exhaled. Soon the mist was blown away. But at the same time, Nami's eyes widened. Vivi and Mr. 9 are already froze, because the boat is so close to the iceberg, it is about to be loaded. Also, a big wave is set off, and the boat is out of control, and it is about to slap against the iceberg, then the boat will definitely be torn apart and everyone will fall into the sea. Such turbulent waves, no matter how good swimming skills are, it is useless to fall. Luffy is full of fighting spirit. This is the Grand Line. It's difficult and fun. This is an adventure at sea. The fog cleared, and when Luffy was about to start, Zoro was woken up to hear that he was about to hit an iceberg. "Pass it to me." Zoro got up, jumped up, and slashed out. Jung. The slash swept out, and with a click, the small iceberg in front was split in half, and the left and right were separated. To the relief of Nami and others, the icebergs broke apart, forming a glacier ravine into which the Mary entered. However, the sea surged, and the icebergs on both sides were also affected and squeezed over. This made Vivi and Mr. 9 collapse again. Is it going to die even worse, and are they going to be squeezed into patties? "Sanji, let's tackle one by one," Luffy said. "It is good." Sanji also felt that it was time for him to move. After the teaching space came out, he hadn't moved yet. Luffy's fist suddenly became huge and blasted towards the iceberg on the left. With a roar, the iceberg shattered into slag. Sanji jumped up, his right foot burst into flames, and he let out a low drink. Devil's foot, coarsely broken. Boom, click. He kicked the iceberg on the right, and the iceberg suddenly collapsed. Looking at Usopp, Zoro's eyes lit up. Nami was shocked. It was amazing. Vivi and Mr. 9 are dumbfounded. The Straw Hat Pirates are too strong. Nami breathed a sigh of relief. Luckily there were Luffy and the others. The Mary sailed on, and soon music saw the island through the fog ahead. Nami confirmed. "It's coming, the first voyage into the Grand Line, it's coming to an end." After getting close, through the fog, you can see clearly. On the island, there are many huge cacti-like mountains, and the eyes of Luffy and others are shining. Sanji sighed. "This is Whiskey Peak, what a wonderful island." Usopp sighed. "What a big cactus, I thought it was a mountain from a distance just now." Just then, Mr. 9 and Vivi prepared to leave. "We're leaving here, thank you for sending us back." After the words fell, Mr. 9 and Vivi jumped into the sea and swam away. Nami was a little stunned. "Let's go like this." Usopp didn't understand. What the hell are they doing? Luffy didn't care, looked at the island, expecting, whatever, it's about to land, enter the first island of the Grand Line. Nami nodded. "Well, let's land, and you have to stay on this island for a while. Because if the recording pointer doesn't record the magnetic force of this island, it can't point to the next island. As for how long, I'm not sure. Different islands, the recording speed is different, some hours, some days." Luffy understood. "Got it, then let's go to the island." Zoro is still looking forward to entering the first island of the Grand Line. The Grand Line voyage, they have seen, is very difficult, so what will this first island be like? Sail in along the river, and soon find people on both sides, then cheers. Welcome, pirates. Welcome to the town of hospitality, Whiskey Peak. Welcome, I will treat you well. ... Listening to the cheers, everyone except Luffy was surprised. Originally thought it would be a very difficult, very dangerous island, but it was such a scene, so hospitable, so many people welcomed them to come. So enthusiastic. Nami was surprised. It's so popular, aren't most people afraid of pirates? Usopp wondered. Sanji said, so many beautiful women are welcoming me, it's great to be here. Sanji felt that this was the right place, and even fantasized about being surrounded by beauties after going to the island and entertaining him warmly. Thinking of this, Sanji couldn't wait to go up. Nami and the others thought this town was good. It turned out to be a town that liked pirates. They felt that after going up, they could spend a few days in this town and would be warmly welcomed. This was something they didn't expect. They thought it would be difficult to be the first to land on the island. However, Luffy knew that these people weren't welcoming pirates, they were doing this just to get the pirates who entered the Grand Line to come here. In fact, this island is full of bounty hunters. It is a weasel greeting the chicken for the new year, and it is uneasy and kind. The hearts of those who welcome are filled with joy. It's the Straw Hat Pirates. Although there are only 2 people on the boat now with a bounty, it's the biggest fat sheep we've encountered. Straw Hat Luffy, a bounty of 1 billion. Roronoa Zoro, a bounty of 350 million. A lot of money. Why is 1 billion so high, and what did he do? Don't be afraid, this is the town of bounty hunters. It's just a pirate group, or a pirate group with only 5 people. It will still be our meal. Such a pirate group should be welcomed more warmly and lured them into the bait. ... It's their inner thoughts. The Mary was docked, and many people crowded around, densely packed. The man in the lead was dressed politely, in a black suit, with long curly hair, about 50 years old, and introduced himself. My name is Ekolem, and I am the mayor of Whiskey Peak. Luffy nodded. Well, I'm Luffy, please advise. Well, nice to meet you. This is a town famous for winemaking and music, and entertaining guests is what we are most proud of. We have a lot of proud wines, and we use your adventure stories so far as appetizers. Come and enjoy the banquet with me. Hearing this, Usopp, Sanji, Nami's eyes light up. This town is so nice. Usopp thought about having a big meal. Sanji thought about the banquet. There must be many beautiful women, and there will be beautiful waiters. Zoro's eyes lit up because there was a lot of good wine. Nami asked, how long will it take to record the magnetic force on this island? Ekolem replied, it will take 5 days. Well, let's go to the banquet and relieve the fatigue of sailing. Nami and others are really tired. The newcomers who entered the Grand Line are very tired at first, and they are busy because of the sudden weather. Entering the banquet hall, it is very lively, delicious wine and good food are ready. Usopp was triumphant and began to brag, surrounded by a lot of people, both men and women. Every time I encounter a desperate situation, it is up to me Usopp to turn it around. When I encounter difficulties and dangers, I will tremble, but because I am a brave warrior, I tremble with excitement. The people around her were full of admiration, and the woman's eyes shone with gold stars. Mr. Usopp, that's amazing. Cheers. I adore you so much. ... Sanji, Nami heard it, got used to it. Luffy thinks that something magical, Usopp's bullshit, will come true. Looking at the people around me, I feel that everyone here is Oscar actor, so good at acting. The town of bounty hunters is quite dangerous, but unfortunately, when they meet their current level of combat power, it is these people who are unlucky. The banquet continued. Sanji was extremely happy, and for the first time experienced being surrounded by beautiful women. He used to be a licking dog, but now a group of women worships him and praises him. Sanji thinks this is paradise, and it would be nice to stay for a while longer. At the end of the banquet, almost everyone was drunk and fell asleep on the table. Ekolem came out of the banquet hall. Mr. 9 and Vivi sat on the roof to say hello. Mr. 9 said, Ekolem, long time no see, to be precise, Mr. 8. It's you. Vivi and Mr. 9 jumped down and asked. What about them? They're going to hell. At this time, a man with dark complexion, pink hair, strong body, like a boy, but a girl's voice walked out, like King Kong Barbie. Is it necessary to play such a scene? It's just a pirate group of 5 people. Although one is a newcomer who has recently become famous in the world, there is a bounty of 1 billion Baileys, but is there really a billion? The other one, Rorano Azoro, I've heard it before, it's not 350 million. As for the others, it doesn't look very good, even if they are powerful, we can take them down with so many people. Vivi pouted. Idiot, they are very strong. Mr. 8 reminded. Miss Monday, you really can't be careless. It is necessary to do so, and it will save effort. Mr. 8 breathed a sigh of relief and arranged. You can report to the boss, and take all the treasures on their ships. As for them, if you can't kill them, the reward will be reduced by 30%. The world government wants to publicly execute them. Go, take action and capture them alive. Clap la la. Ha, it's so comfortable. At this moment, a voice suddenly shocked the 4 of them. Looking at the sound, there is a person standing on the roof, birding. They all shrink. It's Luffy. Luffy peed on it, and for a split second, Vivi's eyes widened and pupils contracted. I don't know if it was the shock why I didn't faint, or something else. They calmed themselves down. What if they didn't hear it? What if you are still drunk and not sober? They had such a fluke, but then, Luffy spoke, making their faces extremely heavy. I heard everything you said. And I. Immediately afterwards, Zoro appeared, standing beside Luffy. This made Mr. 8's face heavy. Sorry. Zoro said. Don't disturb my friends, let them sleep well, they are very tired during the day. Soon, nearly 100 people gathered outside the banquet hall. Although it was seen through, the other party was only 2 people. You guys knew it beforehand. Mr. 8's face was ugly. Zoro nodded. Yeah, I know this is the bounty hunter's lair. Welcome the pirates who come to the Grand Line proudly, let them come up and loot them, right? I just think we don't, it's easy to deal with, so we held a banquet, added medicine, and wanted to knock us out before we started. More and more people gathered, and they were seen through. Soon, a total of 100 people gathered. Zoro is not very interested. If he changes to his former self, he is still interested, but his current self is very strong. I even think that Luffy, a conqueror's haki, can be put into most of the people. Luffy didn't want to waste time dealing with too many trash fish, and with a stare, Conqueror's haki broke out. Bang bang bang. Suddenly, the sound of falling to the ground continued, and the bounty hunters rolled their eyes and fell to the ground and fainted. Mr. 8 and the others looked around in horror. Originally, they thought it was okay to be seen through. There were only 2 of them. There were more than 100 of them. They were all bounty hunters, not ordinary minions. But now, 90% of them fainted. Only 10 left. This made their hearts heavier and felt a sense of crisis. Zoro intends to end it quickly, and gestures, Luffy, just leave it to me. Luffy nodded. Okay. The lineup in front of him really made Luffy uninterested, and there was no need for 2 people to work together. Zoro held the word Hidao in his right hand and said calmly, come on, Baroque Studio. This made Mr. 8's complexion change. How do you know it's our studio? Of course I know. When I was a bounty hunter before, your company once thought of poaching me, but I rejected it. The employees in the company don't know each other's origins at all, and only use their code names. Where is your boss? Name, it's all a fan. Zoro's words fell, their faces were heavy, and they knew so much. Mr. 8 said coldly, it seems that there is another tombstone on the cactus rock. From a distance or even up close, the huge cactus is covered with thorns. I would think it was a real thorn, but it was actually a tombstone, so I could imagine how many pirates were buried here. Zoro jumped down, intending to fight quickly, and even close the knife, not planning to use a knife. This makes Mr. 8 feel shameful, even if there is a bounty of 350 million, but since they know that they are from the Baroque Studio, they cannot be so despised. But I was also fortunate in my heart, and immediately went all out to attack. Mr. 8's curly hair hides guns, cannonballs, and fires unexpectedly. Zoro raised his arms, covering the pitch-black armament haki. No knife flow, black rope tornado. Whoosh. In an instant, the shells and bullets flew away, and they were directly rolled up, screaming. After the storm, All of them were very embarrassed and severely injured. Vivi was far away and was not involved because she had no ill will. In this way, they lost. The gap was too big. They fully realized that 300 million and 500 were real, and the gap was too large. Maybe their bosses are facing each other, and they don't dare to say that they can win. They were desperate and thought it was over. You guys are really weak. You were defeated by a swordsman who didn't use a sword. Two figures walked out of the alley, a man and a woman. The girl was petite and held an umbrella. The man had dark complexion and black hair. This brightened Mr. 8's eyes and saw hope. Mr. 5. Miss Valentine, Mr. 8 and the others were happy because the appearance of these two people gave them hope. Because, it's all demon fruit power. In the Baroque studio, the strength is very strong. Mr. 5 sarcastically. Are you kidding me? It's so unbearable. Miss Valentine was not surprised, and laughed. Ha ha ha, I can understand. After all, this is the difference in our level. This made Mr. 8 angry when they listened, but they could only bear it. Miss Valentine sneered. We're here on a mission, but not to help you. This made Mr. 9 startled and couldn't understand. It's not for us to carry out the task. It's a contradiction. How can there be a contradiction? Because we are here to solve her. Both Mr. 5 and Miss Valentine looked at Vivi with killing intent flashing in their eyes. This shocked Mr. 8's heart and felt uneasy. Vivi's face became heavy, and his temperament changed, like a princess. Mr. 5 said coldly, what we need to solve is the undercover agent who sneaked into our company, or Alabasta's whereabouts are still unknown. Mr. 8 decided to fight, and sure enough, it was still revealing. He stood up abruptly, and the shells kept blasting out of his curly hair. Boom boom boom. Bombing ahead, the fire will bomb Mr. 6 and Miss Valentine. Zoro was startled, thinking that it might not be too boring, but the two sides started fighting. Go to hell, you guys, I won't let you touch a single hair on the princess. From now on, I'm no longer Mr. 8, but Equalem. I bet on the name of the captain of the Alabasta Guard, I will protect the princess. After the bombing, Mr. 5 and Miss Valentine were unscathed. Mr. 5 said indifferently. As expected, there is no mistake, Alabasta Wong Gang's princess, Neferutali Vivi, I am under the boss's order to kill you. Saying that, take out a photo. This made Zoro startled, and he didn't look like a person. Luffy said, the disguise is good, no wonder it can be hidden until now. Having said that, Zoro also thinks it's true. Since it's going to be undercover, it's natural to disguise it a little bit. It's no wonder that the Baroque studio has only discovered it now. Lord Vivi, hurry up and escape. Equalem rushed up. The firepower in the curls kept breaking out, the bullets kept firing, and the shells were bombarding. Facing these two people, Equalem rushed forward without fear of death. Wei Wei is worried. Equalem. Mr. 5 was disdainful of it, and with a flick of his finger, it exploded with a bang, blasting Equalem into the air, with serious injuries and black smoke all over his body. This surprised Zoro. What happened? It exploded. Equalem has cannonballs in his hair, how did this guy do it? I can't explain it, it can only be explained that it is demon fruit power. Luffy naturally knew that this guy was an explosive fruit person. The smoke lingered, Miss Valentine floated up with an umbrella, and then quickly fell, taking off the head rope of Vivi's high ponytail, and her long blue hair suddenly fell down. Immediately, Zoro realized that he was indeed the same person as the photo. Lord Vivi, I can't fight anymore, go away. For the sake of the country, you must live, without you, Alabasta will perish, go away. Equalem's voice was weak. Go, when we don't exist. Mr. 5 took out his nostrils, which made Vivi's expression change, knowing that the other party was about to do something. At this moment, Mr. 9 stepped forward with an iron rod. Although I don't know the situation, since we have been together for so long, I will help you. Let's go, Miss Wednesday. Mr. 9. Mr. 9 waved the iron rod and rushed up. Mr. 5 flicked again, small black particles flew out and exploded with a bang. Mr. 9 flew out backwards, and fell to the ground with black smoke all over his body. Zoro sighed lightly. This little booger bomb is so powerful. Equalem crawled up to Zoro, hugged Zoro's feet, and begged. Master Swordsman, I have an unkind request. I am not their opponent. Can you protect the princess for me? Zoro was speechless. Why do you want to protect you? Obviously you were an enemy just now. Ikaram begged. If you can send the princess back to Alabasta, you will be rewarded handsomely, please. Zoro was helpless. Stop joking, obviously just wanted to kill us. But, at this moment, Nami came. She has been wandering alone all year round. In order to make money, she is very careful, and she has not fainted. Nami was interested and asked, you said a generous reward, is that true? Yes, Ikalem saw hope. After all, she was a companion. If she agreed, Zoro and Luffy, who were her companions and were powerful, would definitely help. Ikalem nodded heavily. Yes. I swear with my life. There will be rich rewards. Nami's eyes lit up, and he offered a condition. I agree to your request, but the reward is 1 billion Bailey, is that okay? Ikalem's expression was dull, and he suspected that he had heard it wrong. 10 billion Bailey. Ikalem is very embarrassed. I'm just a soldier guard, I can't make such a decision, it's too much. Nami asked, do you think your princess is not worth the price? Princess is priceless, but I'm not sure if I can take out so much, maybe. Ikalem's words made Nami decide. Okay, help you. Nami looked at Zoro and said, okay, Zoro, let's go. Zoro was speechless and rolled his eyes. Who will go, idiot, why did you let me go on the errand you promised yourself? Nami scolded. Idiot, although the money is mine, it's also everyone's. Besides, you still owe me money, and Loguetown bought knives before. Zoro was speechless. Luffy said, then, Zoro, let's go take a look. Zoro glanced at Luffy and saw a serious expression on his face. It seems that he is also curious and wants to know what the specific situation is. Okay, let's go. At this point, Vivi was running away on a duck. Ducks are called run fast, and as their name suggests, they really run fast. Vivi said urgently, run fast, run at full speed, there is a boat parked behind Cactus Rock, we will take that boat to leave this island and return to Alabasta. Boom. However, there was a bombardment ahead and the road was damaged. As soon as the run stopped, Vivi's face was heavy. In the thick smoke, a figure walked out, it was Mr. 5. Another way, Miss Valentine emerges. Vivi's face was heavy, and there was no way to escape. Okay, I can take you back. Mr. 5 is ready to go, but at this moment, Luffy and Zoro swooped in. Luffy said, Zoro, let me do it. It is good. Zoro stood aside and dealt with these two, there was no need for the two of them to do it together. Vivi was startled, is this to protect her? Why, you? Vivi looked at Luffy in confusion. We're here to save you. Luffy finished. Mr. 5 and Miss Valentine looked ugly, and the Straw Hat Luffy with a bounty of 1 billion Bailey. However, the task must be completed. Mr. 5 rushed up directly and quickly and kicked out fiercely. Foot explosion. Boom. The bombing was stronger, which made Vivi's face change, much stronger than the previous bombing. After all, the bombing just now was just booger. Luffy didn't dodge, which made Mr. 5 think he couldn't dodge. It's useless to dodge, because the explosion range is very large, and you can't dodge it. It seems that you know it. However, the bounty of 1 billion is not worth it at all. 100 million feels too much. Mr. 5 was sarcastic, but his face changed. Because he felt his bare feet clenched hard and Luffy's hand grabbed him. No matter how hard you try, you can't pull it out. The smoke cleared, and Mr. 5's eyes widened in disbelief, because the Straw Hat Luffy was unscathed. How come? In shock, his body was suddenly out of control, Luffy threw it casually, and Mr. 5 flew out backwards. Boom boom boom. Several houses were smashed through, and the houses kept collapsing. Mr. 5. Miss Valentine's shock, it's so strong, it doesn't seem to be underestimated because of age, 1 billion may really have some hard power. Miss Valentine floated up quickly, over Luffy. Be crushed by me. Located in the sky, Miss Valentine felt that Luffy couldn't dodge, because it was just 5,000 kilograms. Whoosh. Falling like a meteorite, Miss Valentine is confident that even if he is stronger than himself, as long as he is hit, it will be over. Luffy knows that Miss Valentine is a light lion fruit, which can make the body lighter and can control its own weight. Now Miss Valentine is 5,000 kilograms and 10,000 pounds. This gravity is strong, and Luffy can naturally dodge it. He doesn't intend to dodge, but is interested and wants to challenge it. As Miss Valentine plummeted, Luffy raised his hands, palms up. This made Miss Valentine startled. Instead of dodging, he raised his hands. Is he trying to hold himself? Miss Valentine smiled. Now that she weighs 5,000 kilograms, how could she be able to carry it? Boom, boom. Miss Valentine fell, and there was a sudden roar. The ground around Luffy's feet sank, rubble flew, and a roar erupted. Vivi was worried. After all, it was to save her. If anything happened because of saving herself, she would blame herself very much. Vivi looked at Zoro, who was leaning against the wall with his arms folded over his chest, and asked, "Aren't you going to help him? Their fruit powers are too powerful." Exploding fruit, light lion fruit, is a decent fruit, but not very well developed by either of them, especially exploding fruit. What's more, Luffy and Zoro are super strong, and it's too easy to deal with this level. Zoro said indifferently. "Don't worry, it's all right." This made Vivi a little surprised, so indifferent. Zoro knew that Luffy wanted to play, to be precise, to hone it. Zoro wanted to go up and play. He wanted to try this Miss Valentine's ability. The dumbbells he held in the past were not too difficult. If it was 10,000 pounds, Zoro wanted to try it, whether he could hold it. Lifting her to exercise should be able to improve strength and muscles very well. If Miss Valentine knew, Zoro at this time imagined using her as a dumbbell, and it would be too humiliating. The dust cleared and Vivi's eyes widened in disbelief. Because, a deep pit emerged, but the ground beneath Luffy's feet was intact. And, Luffy stood up straight with his arms raised, just grabbed Miss Valentine's feet with both hands and held them up. Vivi shook. That's 5,000 kilograms, 10,000 kilograms, such a powerful force that it actually lifted it. Luffy gritted his teeth and insisted on holding 10,000 gins of Miss Valentine high, but it was good. What? Miss Valentine was startled, but instead of being squashed, he held himself up. Why is there such a strong force? Luffy sighed. Nice gravity, a lot of pressure, but not bad. This makes Miss Valentine puzzled, right? Why do you say that? But in the next instant, Luffy's action made Miss Valentine understand. Zoro smiled. Wei stared blankly. I saw Luffy start to squat slowly, and then get up, actually doing a squat in place. The body is straight, but the legs are bent, and the hands are still held straight and high, just like this, constantly squatting in place. This made Miss Valentine understand why Luffy felt good. It turned out to be using himself to exercise. Miss Valentine exploded with rage. What do you think of me? It's a shame, Luffy said harmlessly. Although I am strong, if I want to become stronger, let me exercise for a while. Miss Valentine watched Luffy grin at herself, pleading, spitting blood. Okay, you have the ability, you continue. This time I will crush you. Miss Valentine's body was light and airy, which made Luffy feel boring. It was as light as cotton, and there was no pressure, so she couldn't continue to squat. But then Luffy was more interested, looking forward, and felt compelled to make a change. Continue if you have the ability. But I remind you that you better look up to me. If you insult me again, you will really be finished. If you have the ability, don't hide. Luffy nodded. Well, I can't hide. This made Miss Valentine sneer and curse inwardly, idiot. But, fortunately, this is the best. The bounty of 1 billion is much stronger than himself and Mr. 5, but fortunately, his ability is special. If he doesn't hide, then he will be finished. Miss Valentine floated high this time, knowing that Luffy wouldn't hide. It didn't stop until it floated to an altitude of 1,000 meters, and then burst out the fruit ability with all its strength, its own limit. Luffy looked up, expectantly. Come down quickly. Miss Valentine aimed at Luffy below and shouted, the limit, 10,000 kilograms to the top. Whoosh. In an instant, Miss Valentine fell like a meteorite. Vivi was very worried. Get out of the way. 10,000 kilograms, 20,000 kilograms. Still falling from 1,000 meters. Vivi felt that even if Luffy was strong, he couldn't handle it. 20,000 gins is enough, or falling from a height of 1,000 meters, the acceleration of gravity. This is not just the power of 20,000 gins, it is too terrifying. Even Zoro was a little worried. If it was him, he would have to dodge or slash out to solve the opponent, instead of standing still and thinking about continuing to hold it. In this case, even if the difference in strength is huge, he will be crushed to death by the 20,000 jins of Miss Valentine. Unless you fight back, or you can't carry it, you will be crushed. Zoro worried and reminded Luffy, dodge quickly, or fight back. If he counterattacks, with Luffy's strength and explosive strength, he can also offset most of the power of the 10,000 kilogram fall, and it will be fine. However, Luffy shook his head. Don't worry, I'll try it. Luffy stood there, not dodging, but raised his hands. This surprised Vivi and Zoro, still want to lift it. It can be seen that Luffy is full of interest and fighting spirit. He wants to challenge himself and hone himself, but this is too risky. Mr. 5 climbed out of the rubble. He saw the horror of Luffy just now, and even lifted the 10,000-pound Miss Valentine. However, Mr. 5 sneered and felt fortunate in his heart. Fortunately, we didn't dodge, they were too powerful, and we fought against each other. We were not opponents at all, we were too small. But fortunately, Miss Valentine's ability, plus his support, 20,000 caddies, fell from 1,000 meters high, enough to destroy a small town. The destructive power of falling objects is very great. A vase falling from a high building can kill a person. What's more, at 20,000 caddies, at an altitude of 1,000 meters, the power is terrifying. Mr. 5 felt that the Straw Hat must be crushed to death. In this case, such a powerful combat power will be solved by them. Next, just work together to deal with that Zoro, and there is still a chance. Miss Valentine was falling at a high speed. She didn't know anything, she couldn't see, but she knew that the Straw Hat couldn't hide, and that was enough. Seeing Miss Valentine falling fast and getting closer and closer to Luffy, Vivi and Zoro stared closely, worried. Just then, Luffy put his hands left and right in front of his mouth, blowing hard. Arms, hands suddenly huge. This made Zoro relieved, while Vivi was stunned and demon fruit power. In an instant, Luffy raised his arms like giants. Mr. 5 is not worried. If you counterattack and cancel out some of the power, it may really be fine, but he still intends to hold it. Even if he swells his body, it will be useless. Mr. 5 has learned that Luffy is a rubber fruit. Blowing air makes the rubber swell, may be stronger, but it's useless and can't hold it. The next moment, Miss Valentine fell. Boom! With an even more deafening roar, all the surrounding houses were blown away, and the airwaves caused Mr. 5 to be blown away. Zoro swept up in front of Vivi, blocking the blast, all the while backing away. Clack clack. The ground continued to crack, the gravel flew, and even the entire island trembled, just like a real meteorite fell. The dust cleared, and Vivi and Zoro looked at it for the first time. At first glance, I was shocked, a Tianking with a diameter of 100 meters. Seeing this scene, Mr. 5 sneered. It's definitely over. With the Tianking as the center, dense and wide cracks spread in all directions, and the longest one is a kilometer long. He felt that with such destructive power, the Straw Hat would definitely be finished. You can fight back with all your strength, and you can knock Miss Valentine away. You are unscathed, but if you choose to fight hard, you will definitely be finished. However, Mr. 5's face changed drastically. I saw Luffy's giant hand held high, holding Miss Valentine. 1, 2, 3. Mr. 5 was dumbfounded, Vivi was dumbfounded, even Zoro, who knew Luffy's strength, was shocked. Because Luffy continued to sit up and squat, gritted his teeth, his muscles were tense and his veins burst out. Obviously more laborious than before, but Luffy likes it, it's challenging. It's heavy, but it's better to exercise this way. 10, 11, 12. Luffy gritted his teeth and continued to sit up and squat with difficulty. Miss Valentine stayed, how could it be? Still resisting. Don't reduce gravity, that's all, too short a time to be effective. Luffy finished, and continued to count. It's a shame to Miss Valentine, but it's also not possible to reduce gravity, but to increase it. But there is no way, the limit of her development is 10,000 kilograms. Gravity strengthens me. Miss Valentine wanted to increase the gravity and push Luffy down so they had a chance. Perhaps because of shame, anger, urgency, Miss Valentine's constant urge to the fruit made her break through the limit of her own ability and the gravity increased. This made Luffy's body sink, and after squatting down, it was difficult for him to straighten up again for a short time. Miss Valentine was excited. Ha ha ha, my abilities have improved. It can be felt that after 5,000 caddies are lifted, it cannot be improved anymore. But it is also very strong, 25,000 caddies. Mr. 5, take the opportunity to attack. Miss Valentine shouted, and Mr. 5 was about to rush over, with a whole body explosion that was even more powerful. Luffy said with difficulty. Zoro, stop him, don't let anyone disturb me. It is good. Zoro swept up, and Mr. 5 exploded all over, but was slashed by Zoro, and the bombing was also blown away. Luffy exclaimed. Very good, this is even better, give it to me. Under the horrified gaze of Miss Valentine, Lu's body slowly straightened up again, and he continued to sit and squat. This made Miss Valentine look ugly, but it didn't remove the fruit ability. If it is lifted, they play with eggs, but if it is not lifted, it will be like this all the time, exhausting the Straw Hat. Luffy is naturally happy, and the longer the time, the better, to hone himself and become stronger. Don't take it lightly, I think it'll last for a night. Luffy grinned. Luffy kept exercising like this, and Zoro wanted to exercise. But know that Luffy relies on ability, and he can't bear the 25,000 pounds of gravity. And so it went on all night. One night, Luffy was also exhausted, but it was still very effective, so exercise. Even, Luffy wants to bring Miss Valentine as a tool man, and use it as a gravity object to train his body every day. Okay, that's the end of it. Luffy stopped training and lay on the ground to rest. Zoro, I'll leave it to you, I'll sleep for 10 minutes. It is good. Zoro went straight to the fight and solved Miss Valentine and Mr. 5. While Luffy was resting, Nami went to wake Usopp and Sanji. Sanji is still dreaming beautifully. Just by looking at his expression, he knows that he is dreaming of beautiful women. Keep drinking, Sanji muttered. Stop drinking, wake me up, there's still work to do. Nami looked at Sanji with a wretched smile, drooling, and stomped on his face. Sanji was woken up in pain, angry, disturbing his sweet dreams, but when he saw it was Nami, he immediately obeyed. Come on, there is something important. Along the way, Nami talked about what happened. Usopp and Sanji had lingering fears, and they were actually drunk. When they arrived, Luffy woke up too. After only 10 minutes of sleep, Luffy was alive and well, which made Vivi have to marvel at Luffy's body structure, which was outrageous. Before on the boat, she had seen Luffy eat a lot of food, and her stomach was like a balloon, but it digested quickly, like a monster. Vivi was puzzled. You guys, why do you want to save me? You were still an enemy before. Nami Kai Shikai said, it's like this, because you're bodyguard. Nami finished the matter and said, that's it, you have to pay me 1 billion. Vivi got it all, and that's what helped. Looking at the embarrassed Vivi, Nami said, I think this business is not bad, Baroque Studio is also very strong, right? Vivi shook his head. I can't agree, although you saved me. But, it's not that I don't want to give it, I really want to give it, as long as it can save our kingdom. But, don't you know Alabasta? If you can save me, I will agree, and I will too. I know you have the ability, but I can't lie to you and promise you, but I can't show it. Nami was surprised. It's a kingdom anyway, can't you get 1 billion? Nami thinks it's a bit outrageous, isn't it so poor? It was one of the few countries that was called civilized and peaceful, but it was before, Vivi explained. As soon as these words came out, Nami and others were curious, what happened, they fell from a big country. Vivi said, now the kingdom is in civil strife. In the past few years, some people began to plan revolutions, people rioted one after another, and the country became more and more chaotic. One day, I heard about an organization called Baroque Studios. Speaking of this, Vivi's tone became resentful. I know that this organization is inciting the people, but if I want to investigate deeper intelligence, I have no clues and can't start. Therefore, I chose to go undercover, so that I can know who is behind the scenes and the purpose. Equalem is worried about me, so go undercover with me. Hearing this, Zoro exclaimed, what a brave princess, so, have you found out who is behind the scenes and the purpose? Vivi nodded. They want to build an ideal country, but what they say is actually a big panic. Their real purpose is to capture Alabasta. I must go back to my country and tell everyone the truth and quell the civil riots. Otherwise, if this continues, Alabasta will be doomed. Vivi became more and more sad, and at the same time hated her own powerlessness and weakness. Nami understands that big countries have no money because they are in civil strife. Zoro wondered, so who's behind the scenes? Vivi's face was heavy. I didn't dare to say what I said originally. I didn't want to tell you. I was afraid that you would fall into a crisis. But looking at your strength, maybe the bounty is really not exaggerated, so let me tell you. Hearing this, Zoro and others have a good impression of Vivi. Luffy said, let's just say, as long as it's not Admiral or the Four Emperors, we can't be destroyed. Then I said, he is Crocodile. Vivi spoke, watching the reactions of Luffy and the others. You should have heard it. If you find it difficult, you can leave it to me. At the end of the day, Vivi's words were a little underwhelming. How could it be possible to deal with Crocodile, Baroque Studio by yourself? I really want them to help me, but I don't have enough money. I don't want them to help me deal with such a powerful enemy. Luffy nodded, I know. Vivi was apprehensive, expecting, but not expecting. If you know, what kind of decision do you make? We can't come up with $1 billion. You can choose not to help. Luffy grinned. If you can't come up with $1 billion, just reduce the pay, do what you can, it will help you. This made Vivi startled and stared blankly at Luffy. It's okay to reduce the pay, the opponent's strength is weak, but Crocodile, do you really know his identity and reputation? Vivi asked for confirmation, looking at the indifferent Luffy, wondering if he really understood. Luffy said lightly, you know, isn't it a 7 warlords of the sea? Vivi, I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.